Hello, everybody! If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, is my co-host Tyler. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I figure there's only one appropriate way to start this. Hello, friends.
There you go. Tyler, how do you feel about celebrating being on the show now for almost 6 years? It's really been a journey we've went on together, hasn't it?
It has. It has, man. Yeah. I mean, I've known you for a very long time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just happy to be here as always.
Yeah, I remember when you first came into the Magic card shop when I was running that and I was like 16. You would come in, we'd play Magic together. It was great. It was great. And I'm happy we've been able to do this for so many years together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really good. So just another normal week where you're on the show like you have been every week for 6 years. Also joining us, our very special guest. He's here to talk about the Soulblight Gravelords. It's
I'm just glad you're done with that shtick. Holy shit. Oh, great. That was my one swear. No more. No more.
Look,
that was an early one. That might be a record.
I have been planning that shtick for like a week, okay, since Tyler agreed.
Well, thanks for not. I didn't know anything about it, but appreciate it.
No, I had to spring it on you. That was what was going to make it good. John, it's good to have you back on the show, buddy. We are going to be talking about Gravelords tonight. I see how much you're flexing, John, by having a mix of 40k stuff over your right shoulder and Curse City over your left. So really just on point.
Yeah, including my third box of these. These are like finding a unicorn in the wild, baby.
Nice.
At this point, I hope you like the regular Vampire Lord scroll, because with three of that box, you can just take an army of them. We need to lose the leader keyword. So there you go.
Right. Yeah. I mean, other than the fact that the Vampire Lord is now in a 40 mil round and those are all on 32s.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was a bad day when I realized that.
Yeah, well, you just put them on 40s. Everybody from Curse City, I rebased them all into different bases that I wanted for the actual army, so who cares? I took most of the stock bases and threw them out the window. All right, but we're going to talk about Soulblight Gravelords later. I will tell everyone right now, tuck in, folks. Oh my goodness, is this going to be a big show? And that's not just because Tyler's on, who is known for extending show times. But we have so much.
Indeed.
So let's start with the news. Tyler, you're the news guy now. What do we
Apparently.
got?
Yeah, 100%. Well, first off, thank you for the invite. I get to be the unlucky soul to to replace Tom, which, jokes aside, I actually think is a tall order. In all honesty, wish him well and hope he gets back soon. There are many other folks who'd be much better qualified to be in the seat than myself, but I'll definitely do my best. My money was personally on Haywo or Doug.
Sure, no, that's
yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
I understand, but no, Tyler, you were my second choice, so don't worry, it's fine.
Oh, excellent. I knew it wasn't the first.
All right.
We've known each other for 20 years. I can take that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we have as our first news item? Well, it's the rumor engine, right?
Yes.
That's where we begin.
Indeed. Yeah. I have very little intelligence to say about it. It's part of this long series that they've been doing here in lead up to Saturday.
Yep. Let me say this. Nothing about this rumor engine is interesting. It's a big weird skull clearly over something that's been tied together. Yesterday was like a mace. There's a bunch of these. They're up to 9. What's important about this article is the thing we already knew, that they're releasing like it's some kind of big mystery. Because if you read the text of the article, okay, each day the silver mirror that the Lord Veritant is peering in is releasing a single letter. It was the letter T, and then H, and then O. And what does that spell? What could it be? Could it be Thondia? This main region of Gur right here on the map they already released, where we know all of the action is taking place, where they've literally set all of the recent short stories, and where Excelsius is. Like, not a real tough nut to crack there.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, guys. Yes, because we're up to like THONDI today. Like, oh boy.
I thought I was going to be Thong there for a moment, and then they crushed my hopes.
They were going to go for the tie-in, the Cisco tie-in.
Yes.
We were all hoping that's what it was, absolutely,
Right.
but no, sadly. So yes, that's what the rumor engine is. It's obviously all the new Beast stuff, and that relates to another news item, which is Dominion confirmed as the name of the big box set, which we are going to get to see this Saturday during a live reveal show. So Tyler, I hope you know that you also signed up to do weekend shows when they do special things.
I figured, yeah, that was part of the fine print of a contract.
Yes,
I never
that
did
is
sign,
in fine print.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
gentlemen, I will ask both of you. John, I'm going to start with you since you're taking a drink, and it's funny to ask you a question right away. What are you hoping to see in this new box set, in Dominion?
What am I hoping to see? I want some ninja orcs so bad.
Okay.
So bad. I want sneaky orcs. I want we need the sneaky what is it? But cunning, is that what it is?
Yeah, cunning but brutal.
Cunning but brutal. That's what I want to see. That's what the game is missing. We all need ninja orcs in our lives. So that's what I'm hoping to see. And what we will see is a unit called Hobgoblins, not that the race is Hobgoblins. Heard it here first. Heard it here first, folks.
There you go. Tyler, I'll go to you, and at the same time, I'm going to bring up that image right there, because during our animation preview, we got what we believe is a little preview of our new not goblin, not orc, gobork.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I brought up that image that was just little sneak right on in there, right on into the animation trailer. This guy was summarily killed by a Stormcast, which is appropriate. Tyler, what are you hoping to see?
Yeah, well, first off, Grimdark Live, they were the first that I know of to call the box name. They've pretty much been spot on with all of their little, early leaks. So, yeah, love to. We got the Drake keyword, I think, with Kragnos. That was this week.
Yes.
So maybe we'll see some new dragon, some Stormcast on mini dragons, like next evolution of Dracoth. I think that'd be pretty sweet.
That's what I want to see. I want them to have wings. I want like little dragon cavalry, like little dragons, but I want Stormcast on them. Look, I can't be the only person who read Dragonlance when I was young, and read the story of all of the knights riding dragons with dragon lances, hence the name of the whole setting, right? And thought to myself, well, that's pretty much the coolest thing that is or will ever be in my entire life. So I guess this is the high point right now when I'm like 10 years old. Right. And let's just finally make that happen. How do we not have Dragon Rider Cav? Not just heroes. I want Cav. There were armies of them in Dragonlance. It wasn't just like one dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, they seem to have struggled over the years with really badass looking dragons, plastic dragons. Like we got that Star Drake. Some folks liked it. It was a little janky in parts of it to some, but yeah, that'd be sweet. I think that's the main thing I'm hoping for.
No, for me, I am honestly most excited. I'm not sure I care about the work side of this. My honest answer is I really am very keen to see what them Stormcast look like, because Ratcast needs to be a thing. The redeemed Skaven, the Ratcast, Skigs, Stormcast are coming, and
it was like Vince's first thought the day that we saw those initial Stormcast in one of our little groups. That was his very first comment was, I wonder how these would look if I stick some rat heads on.
Answer, awesome.
That's
an easy one. That was an easy one. Slam dunk right there.
Right.
You need some help, my friend.
Thank you.
So we need Sarah Angel riding a Shivan dragon with a rat head. Is your ideal universe? I
think that you've literally just described some sort of form of nirvana. If they were to make that model, we would all, by seeing it, we would ascend to a higher plane of being. We would become one with the universe and everything, a consciousness made only of light and energy that all could instantly communicate with each other. There would be the end of the human race through perfection. So we've got to be careful with that.
Xanadu.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Yes. All right. So, you mentioned Tyler
Hmm.
in there, Mr. Kragnos.
Yes.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
We got big Special K as well.
Yeah.
So I brought the scroll up on the screen.
Good deal. Yeah, I've got to pull it up myself right now.
Okay. So Kragnos, the end of empires. 18 wounds, 2 up save, starts at 10-inch move on foot, scales down to 7. He has a nice wound chart. He has the 50% wound chart, the good wound chart, like a turtle or something. Right?
Yep.
Like a turtle. And he can, in fact, do up to 36 mortal wounds to a monster he charges. That is true. There is a 2.78% chance of that occurring, but it is possible.
But it's good for marketing. It was great for that little snippet.
Great for marketing. I will say he does have more than a 30% chance to do 14 or higher mortal wounds on the charge, which is actually not too shabby. That means 1 in 3 times he charges a 14 wounds being the key where most monster heroes live, right?
Right.
Say like your Velazda we're about to talk about later today. So, although that guy would probably live because of his 6-ups, but if you don't have any mortal wound protection, you have about a 35 to 8 depending percent chance of just getting splatted. So it's not bad. So John, what'd you think of this guy, man? What do you think of Kragnos? You excited to see this guy across the table from your boner boys?
No, I just think I'll just start playing skinks and I'll kill him with 160 points of skinks. So it's a legit problem with him, but he's scary. If you like smashing into stuff and making things go boom, he's gonna be fun. I like to play him against him. I don't think I play with him, but I think he seems cool.
Yeah, sure. Yep. Tyler, what's your take on him?
Yeah, so Paul Conti. By the way, Paul, I'm counting these toward my count on number of guest appearances.
Oh, so, absolutely. Yeah, these all count. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna have to do some work. I think Paul said his average damage is about 20 against a 4-up save.
Yeah.
So that's something.
That is correct. It's like 20.8 or something like that. Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. So that seems pretty good. I mean, he has some clear limitations. He's, from one point of view, he's a faster Gotrek. That's probably been a common line that folks have pointed out this week. He doesn't fly. Mainly he doesn't fly. He's got more wounds, although Gotrek has ways to address with that. What is his move? 10-inch. So,
10-inch. Yeah, he's not that fast. Like he's medium speed, right? He's not slow. He's not fast. He's medium speed.
Yeah, and the big thing, as John just alluded to, no mortal wound save.
Yep.
So ranged mortal wounds are going to be a problem for him. Snake bows, long strikes, skanks, sentinels. Yep. Yeah, but they're a problem for everything in the game. So what's new?
Also true. True.
Yeah. I think he's interesting. There was a really good article by Peter Atkinson, Plastic Crake, on his blog where he did a nice initial breakdown on his thoughts. He generally thought, from a competitive standpoint, he's got some real challenges. He's kind of pointing out there was not a lot of synergy going on with this guy.
Sure.
That seems to be sort of part of the narrative, it's very deliberate. So, I personally find him pretty intriguing. What do you guys think his points is going to be?
That was going to be the game. Yes, he is a completely modular piece. He basically doesn't synergize at all with almost anything. He's meant to just be out there and alone. You can drop him into any destruction army. As mentioned, his average damage in melee is about 20, so quite high. By the sort of calculations of this game, that's quite a high amount of damage. Obviously with some very good rend on his Dread Mace, which is nice, but he is eminently chaffable. Yeah. Just before we guess points, one thing I want to say is this is exactly one of the pieces this guy is such a piece that's so hard to point. Okay? Because a competitive player can just control this guy and basically make him do nothing. Right? If you've built your army as such, and you understand what this guy is, you can just keep him busy all game, sort of chaff him up with the appropriate stuff. Non-monsters, he only has like a 2-up for a D6 mortal wounds, right? So it's like a mega gargant.
Right.
You can't blow away the chaff unit because he has no shooting attack. So So you can just basically keep him in lock, so he's almost doing nothing the whole game, right?
Yeah.
And just making him almost worthless, while you then shoot him down with any of the aforementioned mortal wound shots or spells, or although spells are gonna be really hard to get through on him, admittedly. But if he's the only real threat you have to focus on at that point, like, why not?
Yeah.
Right. If he's the only thing in range, if someone's stupid enough to just like push him forward and he's the only one in range of all your spells, I'd still throw all the spells at him. Like, if the choice is cast none or cast at him, there's no risk to it, right? And like, if one sneaks through and does some mortal wounds to him, cool. Like, free wounds. You know, he's not going to heal either, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the reality is that, like, in super competitive play, he's going to be very easily controlled and hard to utilize because he can't fly, he can't get around chaff, he's, you know, all that. But if you're not a competitive player who isn't like, doesn't know how to like target prioritize and chaff efficiently and things like that, or you happen to be in an army that really doesn't have those tools,
sure,
right? Which there are a few of. Yeah, it's like he's gonna run slipshot over the army, and somebody's gonna be like, "I don't understand this game.
Right?
This game is stupid. This guy just runs in and kills my entire army, and there's nothing I can do about it." Right? Like, that's, by the way, that's how I hear everybody on Facebook. So, so how do you point this thing? Right. All right.
Yeah.
So now let's guess.
Yeah.
With that set, we will do Price is Right rules. We will track when we know in a day or two. John, you get to guess first.
All right. I'm going to say they're going to want to move this, so they're going to point him moderately aggressively.
Okay.
I'm going to go 540.
540. Okay.
540.
Aggressive number. I like it. Tyler.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'd say we should actually put someone in line, you know, for this, but you'd probably make me paint a skank or something.
Sure.
So
correct. I would make you paint, and you don't want to do that. So.
So let's see. Yeah, the guesses have been all over the map on this war scroll. I think your point is well taken, that he is pretty difficult to figure out from a competitive standpoint. Initially, prior to seeing this war scroll, I thought 640 to 700. Seeing the war scroll traditionally, I would think that, like, initially I thought that was probably still going to be the case, maybe ending somewhere around 680. I'm hedging here with an explanation. Part of the issue is, you know, comparative comparisons have some inherent challenges and limitations. Sure. With that said, and you know, there's always the but after that statement. Marathi is 600 points.
Yeah, sure she is. And, yeah, indeed.
So, and I mean, we have some other examples, but she obviously stands out for the meme that was going around this week of, you know, the best I can do is 3 wounds, 3 mortal wounds.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, from that standpoint, with Marathi, like, I can't see over 600, but I'll go with my original guess of like 680.
680. All right. I'm going to slice the middle a little bit, which is not generally the best way to win in prices, right? But that's okay.
$1.
Yeah, exactly. $1. No, I'm going to go for 640. That's my guess.
Yeah.
That's just what I feel like this would be pointed at, a little higher than what it probably should be, but they'll start higher and they could always wheel him back and stuff like that. So there you go. Okay.
Yeah, I think 680, 700 is way too high. 640 is too high. I think John's 540
is probably more like the correct number. Yes.
Yeah, see a little bit more, but that seems about right
for a completely non-synergistic modular beat stick that moves at medium speed around the board without
right.
I think the argument for pointing him higher, which you're looking through the lens of GW's design team, is the fact that he can go into any destruction army. What if you put this guy in an army of 200 grots that has the board control, that has the bodies, but he can simply just run amok and be the kill stick? So I'm not saying he is the kill stick. I'm saying that they're worried in that kind of army we need to be safer rather than just he was only usable in army X.
Right.
You know.
No, you're right. They tend to up price versatility.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
He's got some synergy with Gordrak's command ability.
That is true. There it is. There's one. So enjoy. I mean, that sounds like a fun army to me. I'm just saying. Like if I can get him and Gordrak and a mega and a mega Gargan in there, I mean, it sounds like we're in a great place to me so far. I see no issue.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. So continuing on, this is the price sheet just in case people had questions, because at the same time we also got announced 4 new battalion boxes, and the battalion boxes gave away that there might be 2 sets of rules coming in Kragnos that we were unaware of. Everybody was like, "Oh, Beasts of Chaos and Skaven, you get nothing in this release. What does that mean?" Maybe now they get something, because there is the Butcher's Herd, which I have all these, what exactly is in these in just a second on the next slide. But that is the Beast of Chaos one. You've got Dryka's Spike Grove, of course, which is like Dryka and some Spite Revenants. Like that, you don't even need to, you could read the name and figure out exactly what's in there.
Probably just 10 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
You have the Exquisite Pursuit, which is the Slanesh one. Which is full of things you probably don't need, and but that's fine, and Ratachak's Doom Coven, which is the Skaven one. So that tells me we're getting some beasts and some Skaven rules. Next bet, here we go, gentlemen. Are the rules coming in Kragnos for Skaven and beasts just battalions? And hence worthless in a month and a half. So nothing. All right. Or is there actual rules in there? Did they actually think ahead and go, you know what? We can't give these 2 armies who desperately need some love just battalions that we're going to invalidate in like 5 minutes. Let's do something real for them. So, John, you're up first. Battalion only or real rules? Your choice.
Oh yeah, they're just checking boxes here. So the inbox on the community is just okay. We're gonna try to mitigate some of these mad nerds here. We did put something in there, and it was crappy battalions, and that mean nothing. So that is my summation of this final answer.
Okay, very good, Tyler.
It's the obvious, but that's what it feels like. Yeah, 100% the OBR treatment.
Okay.
Yeah, just battalions.
Okay. I am going to take the upside then and say there's going to be some real rules in here. We're going to get some kind of rules updates for both of them. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's not scrolls. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I think there's going to be something. They're going to put something in there.
Hopeless optimist with your rats.
Yeah, like, look, it's Skaven. I've got to believe, man. I've got to believe. Okay. So we'll see. We'll see exactly what happens. Also, just a fun. So there's the prices for all the other special things, like Craggy's 160. The book is 40. Croak is 115. I hope his War Scroll is good, and he costs 600 points. That would be correct. So good, not great. 600 points. Call it a day. The War Song Revenant is 55. The 2 Witch Hunters are 50, and then also catching up with that Melusai Iron Scale release, which I was happy to see.
Oh yeah,
because they had released that you could get the Lord of Pain separate, but you couldn't get the Iron.
What was the price on that one? Like 35.
35. Yeah, reasonable
cool.
for single hero price, so pretty standard.
Yeah, that's not too bad on the Warsong Revenant. That's not too bad.
He seems like a bigger dude, so okay.
Yeah. So I've got another one. So we saw the Black Library are releasing short stories this week.
Oh, that was where we were going. Yeah, we were going there.
Okay. You wanna pick it up?
Yeah. So, by the way, I have the contents of the boxes up on the screen now. So,
Cool.
Like for Beastmen, it's Bray Shaman, 6 Bulgors, and a Cygor kit. What all of the Beast boxes tells me is they have a surplus of Shamans and Cygors because those 2 show up in every box.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like they just start with those 2 sprues and go, what else can we fit in here? Right?
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
as mentioned this. Oh, go ahead, John. What were you saying?
With the production issues that they reportedly have, it's obvious that we got to figure out what can we keep putting out That doesn't require us to produce new models to make it. And this is true of the last battalion boxes. It's true of this battalion boxes, which is fine. I'd rather they move stuff and give us a good deal on it, but it's pretty apparent.
Absolutely. That was just them like going into the factory, taking the Cygors out of the box, like opening up the box, pulling out the sprue, putting it in the new box, right? Like somebody had to pack those for a day, and that was it.
Yep.
Okay. So that's just the contorted epitome, 3 fiends and 5 seekers.
Give me those fiends, man.
You
Give me those
insult me.
fiends.
Fiends are like okay at best. And by the way, they're much worse than 3.0. So good times.
Okay.
Because 3.0, if all rumors we've heard are correct, which by the way, since every rumor has been panning out so far, I'm just going to start taking these things as dictum.
Sure.
The cap on negatives to hit and wound.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sure.
Yeah, they rely on like stacking those things to survive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
have I missed it? Has there been a rumor out there for attacks that you cannot?
I've only heard attacks, or I've only heard hits. Sorry, not attacks. I've only heard hits, wounds, and saves.
Saves.
Yeah.
Right.
But
okay.
I don't know. I think that's what List Labs had said. So
that'll be relevant for Soulblight.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And then the Skaven is the Bombardier. 3 Storm Fiends and the Warp Lightning Cannon, which is fine. Okay. That can also obviously build the Plague Claw if you should want to make a bad choice in your life. Now let's talk about this image, because I knew where you were going, Tyler. So, a series of short stories you can buy as ebooks. 5 books. The Oracle, about Marathi. The Archmage, about Teclis. The Dark Master, about Bellicor. And the God of Earthquakes, about Kragnos. And also the Everqueen. Wait, what? Hold on.
But wait, there's more.
Yes. And so all of a sudden, everybody has started, like, the rumor has now gone around. Were there supposed to be 5 Broken Realms books, and they, like, pulled it back.
She's always getting the short stick.
And they were like, cancel one of them, fold Alariel and the Everqueen stuff into book 4.
Yeah.
Okay, let's trace this back so we know when would they have had to make that decision. Okay? They would have had to make that decision to cancel the book and fold everything in. Realistically, at the latest, probably April or May of last year. Like right after the pandemic started. Okay? Just because of lead time, because they would have to get the new book, fold everything together. That would require reformatting everything, like all new layout work, all new art, all new writing. Like you can't just shove 2 books together. There's a lot of graphic design work there, right? Then it would have required play testing and all of that, for all of that content getting pushed into the cycle, right? Because they have to play test everything there. And then it would have required them then shipping out the order, because they stamp these things like 6-7 months in advance of when they're supposed to launch, right? So my answer is no, this was never going to be a book. They had 5 ideas for stories. And like Alariel is the big major player who doesn't have her own book in this series, right?
Yeah.
She shows up in like every book talking.
Yeah. It seems more likely than not that's the case. Although, I mean, we have a lot of releases. I mean, relatively speaking, you know, we've got the Slaanesh models, we've got Croak, we've got those 2 Cities of Sigmar, the dad and daughter combo. You know, it seemed like there's quite a few releases with this. Of course, Kragnos with this final book. So the Warsong Revenant as well. You know, I don't know. Maybe, you know, as mentioning it, maybe it's not too surprising that you would have this many in the final crescendo for Broken Realms. But as kind of thinking about it on that front, like, is there enough that we're getting where you could have seen that divvied up in over 2 books? I guess is the question.
Sure.
And it might feel a little light on that front, but I could see it.
Yeah. John, what do you think?
I mean, looking back from the amount of time that they would have had to make this call, so early on in the pandemic to make massive decisions as an organization of where you stop and where you go. This feels like a pretty minor one to want to put your eggs in the effort basket to condense.
Right.
Is my answer. It just seems like they would make larger whole scale changes and adapt them as they needed to fit, which they just did last month, finally halting new releases instead of the backlog that they've gone through. I don't think this seems like so much work to have so little impact on an annual calendar, you know?
Yeah, and it feels like at the same time what they could, like, there could have been a point very early on that this was 5 books. You know what I mean? Like in the early planning stages, before any of the books are really getting written or stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
They could have been thinking like, okay, let's do Broken Realms as 5 books. These are going to be the major characters. So they would have had lots of planning sessions where they would have sketched all this out.
I think that was a general guess in the community that it was going to be, because we have like roughly 25 some factions,
right?
You know, and then that first book we saw, it had 5 factions featured.
Yeah.
So 5 by 5
in the pipe. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, I'm sure that at some point in early pre-development, or, you know, somewhere in that early point when, you know, you have people sort of initially working on stuff, like sketching out what are going to be the story beats, what's going to be the general arc, what armies are we going to put in each book. There'd be so much pre-planning to all of these, right, in the department.
Yeah.
That they could have had an idea for a 5-book arc. And then as it developed, they condensed it to 4 books, but we're still like, you know, Alariel's still a huge player. We're just going to kind of push her more throughout. Like, you can see the whiteboard where they start moving Post-it notes around, right? Of like, okay, we're going to put this stuff over here, this stuff over here. Alariel's still showing up in every book, so yeah, we'll give her, you know, like, let's still get a story out for her because she's a major player, right? And a major player leading into 3.0. And that feels like the real story to me, right? Mm-hmm. That's more believable to me than like they called an audible at the last minute and there's like a whole Alariel book somewhere that, you know, sitting on someone's hard drive that they just shelved and extracted content out of and shoved it into Kragnos. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
So
it reminds me, one thing you guys didn't mention, I think, in your show where you were talking, I think it was last week's, you were covering all the battle tomes. On Sylvaneth, you know, it seems like we may have a 3.0 Sylvaneth battle tome that would be basically like a War Clans version.
Yeah.
You know, you'd have the Kurnothi release finally, and maybe a Kurnoth model itself, or Avatar Kurnoth, and that would be the head of the Kurnothi side. You'd have a Sylvaneth side, and then of course, the big WoW version where the two combine together.
If that happens, my only requirement for the Kurnothi army is every one of them must have hooves or a satyr body or something like that. Whatever's going to drive Scott the most insane.
Yeah.
As long as nothing is a normal looking wood elf, as long as you can't ever confuse one of them for a wood elf, then I'm happy.
Poor kid.
Like, again, they don't have to be, I'm not asking for them to be like crazy off the base, you know. They can look like wood elves completely, same outfit, same stuff, but then hooves, or same outfit, centaur body, or same outfit, furry satyr legs, whatever, something, horns, big horns, I don't care, get nuts.
It's like a poofy tail that comes out from the back of the pants.
Yes,
that's
poofy
it.
Squirrel tail. I will take that too. That would be great. Just like a little curly Q poofy squirrel tail. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Great stuff. There's the Thondia picture, and that's it. So there we go. Did we cover all the news? I think we did.
We've got the new series of tournaments.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I forgot about that. How could I forgot about Dre. I'm sorry. So, 3 tournaments. The U.S. Open happening across, apparently, the southern United States.
Yeah.
300-player tourneys. The top 2 from each one then go and play into a showdown. So it'd be a 6-person showdown, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, we got Orlando, Texas, and then New Orleans.
Yes.
Which to me sounds the most intriguing.
I like how you named 2 cities in a state, and it's one of the biggest states in the union.
I was just reading. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's
Louisiana.
in Austin.
Everybody's
Right.
Austin. There we go.
So I mean, my response to all of this was cool. That's it.
You're not intrigued?
No.
Yeah?
No. Not even a little.
Why not? You're not
What would
excited
intrigue me
for doing
about
this?
it? Like,
Well, the fact that Games Workshop is getting involved in tournaments, man.
sure. Here's what I'll be interested in. What mats are they using and who made them? What terrain are they using? Okay. And is it crap? All right. Yeah, that's probably good. And then obviously they'll use AOS 3, so it'll be whatever the new AOS 3 like primaries and secondaries are, because clearly they're going to adopt some kind of 40k primary secondary thing. Like,
right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Of course, we saw the image that Steve Wren put out. Steve Wren, he's involved.
Putting out terrain. Go for it. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
look, Steve is a
good.
hero. He is an absolute
man.
hero. He is the man. The first time I ever went over to the UK to go to Warhammer World, Steve Wren met me, brought an army for me to play with, met me at Warhammer World. We played a couple games that day. It was fantastic. Steve made me feel so at home when I was like half the world away. I am eternally grateful to him, and there is no better man that could be in charge of this. I saw him making up some terrain tables. I hope that's how they look. Get rid of the wildwoods. He had too many wildwoods, but I understand that's what's just there at Warhammer World. There's like 5 million wildwoods on all the tables.
Yeah.
So fine, I get it, but like, you know, chuck those in the bin and replace them with real terrain, and we got a winner. Steve had the right idea. He was on point.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we'll get a new 3.0 terrain set, and it will be a little more functional than the. I mean, I love how the Dominion of Sigmar sets look, and some of it's not too bad. It's like scatter terrain, but of course, yeah, we all know the issues with those big rectangular pieces and those steps in particular.
Yeah.
Now, hear me out. Hear me out.
I'm ready.
Yep.
Rebox the mausoleum. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It's a totally crazy idea. No one's ever thought of this. But
it's good. It's classic.
AOS 3.0 box.
You're on
mausoleum.
It, man.
Well,
100%.
no, here you go. John, I got it. Okay. Here we go. We're going to rebox the mausoleum, but also in the box is the creeping vines thing. You know what I'm talking about? Because you get the skulls of the creeping vines. So you get the mausoleum and the creeping vines, and it's like and it gets renamed like the Gurish Field of Bones.
Man, this money just prints itself.
Yes. Done. We nailed it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, my honest answer is, look, if people are excited for this, I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum. I'm sure that they're going to fill up. I'm sure they'll have 100 people, and I wish everybody who plays in it all the best. I think it'll be a cool tournament.
Yeah, 128 spots for the
128.
AOS.
I'm sorry, I thought it was 100, but yeah, 128. Yep. Okay. Which makes more sense mathematically, your number. For round pairings. The thing about it is, though, I prefer to go to tournaments of the TOs that I know that are my friends. That are people I know. There's like so many good tournaments run by people who I really enjoy in the community, who are like all-star heroes and TOs that put amazing and immense effort into it. And I only can go to a limited number of tournaments a year because, you know, like we have lives and stuff. Yep. And I would rather support one of my friends. That's just the bottom line. I'm not trying to take like some kind of moral stand. I'm just saying I would rather go to their tournament than the company's. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. We didn't mention the dates, if anyone's interested in the dates. So yeah, the one in Orlando, 14th, 15th of August. In New Orleans, 2nd and 3rd of October. And Austin, 20th and 21st of November. Okay. So there you go.
Very nice. Well, I'm sure they'll be interesting. I'm sure that hey, more tournaments are good, more results. Hopefully that feeds up more data. So there you go.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Yeah, and then I think that's all, right? That's what we got?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Cool.
Yeah, looks good.
Only other piece of news is there's this strange countdown happening on my Twitter every day. I have no idea what it is. I've lost control of my phone. It's not me posting it. I don't know who it is. I guess it must be some kind of ghostly spirit, something from the beyond. But my guess would be that if you wanted to know what it was all about, you should be watching this channel on Friday, the 28th, 2 days from now, and probably some stuff will be revealed. So there you go. We'll see. Okay. So, gentlemen, let's turn to some pick of the week. All right. So, pick of the week. John, what would you like to share with everybody, my dude?
Pick of the week. So we're talking about Soulblight Gravelords today. So I want to highlight a couple of wonderful artists out there that have new videos on YouTube highlighting a lot of this fun dead stuff. So if you haven't checked out their YouTube channels, please check out Trevarian. Please check out Richard Gray. And please check out our wonderful friend Marco Frazzoni, aka Not Just Mika.
That's right. Yes. All of them have been putting out some awesome undead themed content. You know, Richard Gray's videos are ridiculous in what they're doing. He is one of the best painters in the world, and he's just like, okay, I'm going to sit down for an hour and show you everything that I do to paint the incredible way that I paint and exactly how I do it. And part of me is legitimately sad that the culture we live in, the world we live in, is not one that video doesn't have 1 million views. Like, you're learning from truly a master, right? Like, this is Leonardo or something like that saying, hey, I'm sculpting this little thing called David. You want to come on in here? I'm going to be chipping some marble, and I'll show you exactly how I get it done.
Yeah.
And people are like, nah, that feels like it would take too long.
Right.
Right. So, at any rate, yes, I fully support all of those wonderful, wonderful picks. I will link all of their most recent videos for that. Tyler, what do you want to share with everybody?
Where's he from, incidentally, Richard? Is it
UK.
US based or is he UK? Okay. No, I wasn't sure. Yeah, I was just curious. Nice. Oh, and we also, if you got that slide Vince, on the events, maybe we can insert that in. If not, no worries.
I don't, but that's okay.
We'll get a little more organized. See,
Yes.
I was the one organized.
You were you. I'm not used to this level of organization from our co-host.
Yeah.
Tyler was reaching out to me this week, by the way, like sending me links in advance, sending me stuff, just like, hey, let me help you out. I'm like, I don't know how to handle this.
Called you last week, or no, Saturday to prep for Wednesday. Yeah. Trying a little too hard here, clearly. Okay. So I'm going to self-restrain to max of 3. And like John, they're going to be thematic. All right, here we go.
I'm ready.
Knife to the Hearts podcast. Relatively new podcast on the scene. Some good guys, Jesse, Justin, and Nick. I know Jesse's from Wisconsin. I guess they're all in Wisconsin. They did a episode just recently with Brendan Melick, self-proclaimed Lord of Death, although apparently he had to give up that title to Joe Pagano, if memory serves, on Soulblight. And then they covered a tournament, I think it was called Hammerfall, that they, the guys, Jesse, Justin, and Nick, that they organized. So yeah, it was a really good discussion, hearing all their thoughts on the Battle Tome. So check that out. Really good pod in general. I think they're up to like 7 or 8 episodes. And then a good friend, Andy Long, a guy who's been doing all the well-designed, amazing gaming aids, mainly cards, for the community in recent years. He did the NashCon schemes events that we had. Yeah. So Andy put together some gaming cards for Soulblights. So we can include a link to that. Yeah,
real nice spell cards. They're gorgeous.
Absolutely, yeah. Battle traits, command traits, artifacts, etc. Yep, all right there. So, and then finally, feeding his ego a little too much because it's another one featuring Brendan. So probably should have mentioned it. But Pants Mafia, Soulblight versus Seraphon battle report on YouTube. One of the first YouTube bat reps that I could find in recent days, showcasing the book. Yeah, it was really good little battle reports. Lots of Saurus Guard. Brendan had a few bricks. I think he had Big Unit of Grave Guard, some Skellies. Not sure if he had any zombies. Manfred and Vlazda running around and showing off some of the synergies you can do. He was in Legion of Night.
Nice.
So yeah, those Grave Guard, pretty disgusting.
Oh yeah, they're good. Super good.
Yeah.
All right.
What's up?
Awesome. Very good. I'll keep mine short and simple. I don't have 50 million. I follow my own rules.
3.
Yes.
And I got the exception in advance.
This is true. My shout out is very simple. It is for our good friend, buddy, friend of the show, and all around awesome dude, AOS Coach, who hit over 10K subscribers this week on his channel.
Nice.
Absolute legend. Continuing to bring out awesome content. He most recently put up his army showcase for his Sons of Bahamut. He finished his big Sons army. He's been getting a lot of play in on those several tournaments, as Austin has been obviously still, they've been alive and well in the tournament scene for a while. We're all jelly. But check out that video, and if you haven't already subscribed to Coach, go give him a watch. He's making really fantastic content, and yeah, hit that up.
He just did 2 really in-depth episodes on Lumineth that were quite good.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
They didn't need to be. They could have just been like, "Are Lumineth bad?" Yes. Should you play them? No. 2 episodes done. Got it. Easy. See, solved it.
Simple game.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Lumineth.
Been enjoying all this Elven bias that you've been displaying. You're supposed
this isn't
to be
a new thing. I have legitimately hated High Elves since
I know.
5th edition. So like I'm good. My pedigree is strong.
Yeah. No, in terms of some of your assessments, that's a side topic. We can talk about that another time. Yeah, your assessment on some of these things, but that's okay.
Yeah,
we can all be wrong from time to time.
We can all be wrong from time to time. That's right. I'm not about this, but we can be. Okay. So let's then turn to some hobby time. Now, a thing you need to know about my new interim co-host is that my new interim co-host does not paint, despite my repeated pressures to get him to do so. So in that way, he's actually exactly the same as Tom.
Right. Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I gotta go get the thing I painted, so you guys
you go get the thing you painted. Go ahead, John. But Tyler and Seth, have you played some games? What have you done this week?
Yeah, 100%. So got test gaming against Soulblight. Let's see, it was a good friend Dan. He ran Unit of 10 Blood Knights, which turns out it's probably not a good idea to ambush 10 Blood Knights.
Too many. It's too many. Too many. You can't put anything on 75s in a Unit of 10. It's just too much.
It's too much, yeah. Yeah, he was thinking after the fact about maybe a Coven Throne, where you could get it to 2 up save, 2 to hit, 2 to wound on a big Unit of 10, have it on the board. Maybe, but yeah, generally 2x5 or whatever. Yeah, yep. Not too keen on 1x10. So other than that, I thought it was a great list. Let's see, he had Lazda, 10 Blood Knights, 2x3 Vargeist, 2x10 Skellies, 2x20 Zombies. Did he had another hero, which I'm forgetting. Yeah, it was a good list though. He basically had like 5 hammers, and then 40 zombies and 20 Skellies. So I was playing Iron Jaws. I was like, well, all right, for science, I'm going to give him first turn, see how that goes. Battle for the pass. So he got in the 2 middle objectives, bubble wrapped his objective, and put all of his hammers right in my face.
Sure.
Because you can deep strike the Vargeist.
Yeah,
you can ambush the Blood Knights. Yeah. Oh, it was 2 zombie dragons. That's what it was. 2 Bloodsmith. Yeah. So it was just all in my face. So I basically spent the game trying to work through all that junk while he just hung out with zombies and Skellies and scoring. And so it didn't go all that well, but it seemed
so
like
you fell for the classic alpha bunker, alpha block strategy right there.
Yeah.
Classic blunder.
Yeah. Soulblight, they definitely don't mind going first.
No, well, especially not in that build, right? When they have so much deep strike potential. Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
How are they making the charges?
I don't think he needed to. He was just like, either they got them or it didn't matter. They still his goal was just to hold you in because he was just trying to pin him there for a couple turns while his zombies scored the points. Because it was in battle for the pass. So he had been like moving up into the middle. All the zombies and Skellies are back here while the rest of his army's up here in front of Tyler. So it's just like, okay, he fails a charge, who cares? Tyler's still got to go deal with this, right? So.
Okay. Exactly. So the Vargeist could pop in front of him because Legion of Night otherwise has to go board edge. That's where I was confused. I'm like, how
so
you bring
you
bring a couple in from the edge, you drop the Vargeist in the middle, call it a good one, right? There you
go. Yeah, and Castle ambushing those knights. Yeah, but failed a few key rolls, like, failing the teleport spell, but he did a really nice job of, that many bodies zoning out space. So kind of zoned out from the Hand of Gork having any meaningful play.
Sure.
And didn't quite get the, you never want to blame it on a priority roll, but definitely that game needed a roll, one of those rolls to at least have a shot at it to get through all of that in my face. But yeah, it was good learning game.
Nice.
And then that was about it.
Nice. John, what did you paint, buddy? What did you paint? Are we going to see something from a future video here?
We are going to see something from a video that's coming out Friday. But I've got this whole giant box of stupid 40K stuff that I have to build for another future video of painting an entire army in a short period of time. So I built a stupid terror turkey.
First of all, 40K chaos army in a short period of time. You're a psychopath. Continue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what? It's not that much trim, right?
Okay. Sure. Yeah, exactly.
I did pick up my second corpse cart. I tracked one down, so I've started to build that and rebase those because apparently they still don't come on round bases even from GW. I don't know how that's still a thing. At a stream last week, I painted up our good little Wispy Beard Man is all the name that I know him as in a couple hours, and he is obviously going to be used as a necromancer in Soulblight Gravelords. And then for the video this week, it's a video on all the different paint brushes you need and their purposes. So this is a great video for you, Tyler. I'm sure you'll learn a lot and utilize it immediately. So this fun eel
thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah. He's beautiful. What a fun worm. What is that from, by the way? What's that little from?
Cobra Mode Miniatures is the name of the company. I just freaking love their stuff. So they
that's amazing.
They're amazing artists that it's all 3D printed stuff.
Nice.
So their files are just crazy and fun and whimsical and have a lot of character. So I love painting their stuff. So
nice.
Printed that out at home.
Good. Cool.
For myself, it's been a very, 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 very busy week. For reasons that people will see in 2 days. And but in addition to that, I painted an entire FEC army over the weekend. So I did another army in 24 hours. Bringing me up to 19 armies. I'm one away from the big 2-0. I'm very excited. Soon my armies will be able to drink legally. So Smash Bat is now ready to smash that. I recorded just an absolute metric ton of footage for it. Now I've got to spend a long time editing all that together into something that resembles a video. So that'll be real fun. But that whole army is good, and it's over there behind me. Ended up doing about 77 models, something to that nature. So it was like 60 ghouls, 9 crypt flayers, 3 crypt horrors, 3 vargulfs, a ghoul king, and a Abhorrent Archregent. So
nice.
There we go. So, and I even got a game in them with it. I literally paused the clock in the middle of painting them to have somebody come over, and I played a game with them. So I played against Sylvaneth, and the person was like, "Well, I want to try a L'Oreal out," and I was like, "Okay, well, we'll see if Smashback can smash that." And turns out, yes.
Not nice.
Shocker.
Oh Lord.
The lack of hammers in his army came to bite him, because when you can't finish off FEC units in a Vargulf heavy army, where every Vargulf is rolling 6 dice to restore models every round, just so every unit just no matter what unit I had, it was just always back to full, just always back to full.
Did you have the chalice too?
No.
Okay.
I never used.
Don't necessarily need it.
No, well, one, I hate it. I hate it. It's dumb. I don't like it. Legit just feels unfun and broken. So I don't use it. I mean, I'm not doubting how good it is. Of course, it's super good, but it's the same reason I don't run the Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, right? I don't want to give people a bad game.
Right. What was in his list other than the Queen?
Alariel, 6 Scythers, 20 Dryads, 2x5 Spite Revies, 2 Durthus.
Okay.
And I might be pretty close.
That's probably about right. Yeah.
Somewhere around there. Yeah. That sounds like I'm about right. So.
Yeah. No battalions.
No. Yeah. No battalions. And he had the little make you go fast with +3 to charge spell, endless spell.
Spiteswarm Hive.
The Spiteswarm Hive. So he threw the 6 scythes into me round 1. Right.
Yeah.
And
you doing winter leaf or Treadwood?
Yeah, he was in
or...
Winterleaf. Yep, exactly. Yep. So 6s were doubles. He killed my unit of 40 ghouls down to 2. And it didn't matter. They were immune to battle shock, and then over the next rounds, they were back at 30.
Oh God, that's a
and
table
the 6
flip
Scythe boys were no longer alive. So there we go.
I'd heard though that you tested out a different way to do the woods.
We did. We played with the alternate rules where he just turned terrain into woods, and you know what? It made the game fun.
Yeah, I was curious what he thought about it.
Yeah, he loved it because it was so much easier. He was just like, okay, because he still had to pick a terrain within range of like his normal cast, which wasn't that hard.
Right.
Like, he just kind of like set up and knew where things were going to be when he started. He was like, okay, that terrain's in range. I cast the spell. Yes, it goes off. Okay, that thing's woods now. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, 100%.
And it was just like he didn't have to bring a bunch of extra stuff over. It took 0 seconds to change the board, right?
Right.
And then he teleported his dudes forward onto that terrain. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah, pretty easy.
It was so much easier, and it just... Please change it, GW. Please. You're a step away from having that army be playable. Please. Okay. We're not going to beat that horse again. All right, gentlemen. Are we ready? Are we ready?
Absolutely. How long are we in?
56 minutes. We're doing well.
56 minutes. All right. 4 minutes under. We're doing good, John.
All right.
All right. We're good.
We're doing good.
We're doing real good. We got 44 minutes left by what this show's length is supposed to be.
Right.
I appreciate the reassurance.
It was an hour. I just want to comically
okay.
All right. Soulblight Gravelords. Okay, so before we get into the meat of the thing, let's let me go ahead and close that up. There we go. Okay. Before we get into the meat of the thing, I just wanted to get your initial 40,000 foot impressions. John, you're a big Death fan. You like the Death stuff.
Yeah.
You are a Death stan. You're a Death fanboy.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, what did you feel about this book overall? What's your take on it?
I like the flexibility. I like the theoretical options. I hate that it's Legion of Nagash 2.0.
Okay.
That's my 40,000 foot view.
Mm-hmm. Tyler?
Oh, I'm wanting to ask the why question. We'll have to unpack that.
Well, ask him the was. Okay, why? Sure.
Why on the...
What did you want instead?
L1 2.0, yeah.
I wanted it to feel like zombies controlling the hordes, that the zombies were powerful undead lords, that the zombies...
You mean vampires here. You're saying zombies.
Yeah. Oh, that's a Freudian slip. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the only good thing in the book. The vampires just don't feel like they're controlling mindless minions. The vampires don't feel like they are utterly powerful undead lords. It's just an army. It's just a thing that still focuses on mass rules in the core allegiance abilities, and it bums me out. So yeah, I wanted to feel like it felt like a vampire army. It doesn't feel like a vampire army at all.
Sure, I get that. Tyler?
John, that was one of my try hard moments. I sent a message to Vince being like, I can't stand how these vampire lords are not more impressive in combat. Should we maybe do some comparisons with old Vampire Counts battle tomes? And he was like, are you out of your mind? If this is already going to be a 4-hour show and you're wanting to go through books from
you're going to grab 6th edition and 5th edition scrolls?
Yeah. So like, okay, yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, I'm generally, not a Death player. Always looking at books, first and foremost from the fat middle lens. Is this book in the Goldilocks zone, generally from both a design standpoint and broadly a competitive standpoint? I mean, there's a few other variables. There's like viable variety and different play styles and just kind of the interesting level, interestingness of the book. And on that front, I think it's close to a home run. Like, I really, really like this book. It's not perfect. It's got some flaws in a number of areas that you can certainly point out. But, I feel like I'd have to really get extremely nitpicky to not like this book personally, at least. but it's one that I could see where opinions are going to be, varied. Like I could see some folks really, really disliking it, and a lot of people really loving it. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of this book in general. Or I can get into why, but
yeah, and which I know we're going to get into.
Yeah.
So, to me, this was a really interesting book because it's challenging, right?
Mm.
On one hand, I really do feel like they nailed the power level pretty correctly. Okay, like let's separate the design completely out of this for a moment. When I think about the power of what this book can do, the sort of challenge that it presents to your opponent and that kind of stuff, and how it would play against the field and the armies that are out there, I really like where it sets and what it is. Okay. It feels like it's so decidedly fat middle, right? And that's where I want to see more books at. I'm really like, I want to see books that look like this power level, not like LRL, DOK, Seraphon nonsense, right? I don't enjoy those books at all. They're because the power's so skewed off to the side, right?
Yeah.
That they just become unfun. Now, design-wise, I think that there's a lot of good stuff here. I think that there are also some real opportunities for improvement. But I think this does, like, in the paradigm of design, to me it strikes in the middle but slightly on the upside, if that makes sense, right? Like, which we'll get into. So let me actually hit my first slide here. Oops, sorry. With my army overview, okay? So in my estimation, it's a dynamic army with powerful heroes, but limited phase presence. And that's a real challenge here, right? The strengths are like the subfactions do allow for some interesting play options. You have powerful but often faction-locked heroes. And by faction-locked, I just mean like they already have the name stapled on them, right? And so that means that you can put them in the other armies, but they're not going to inherit those two abilities or whatever that happens to be going on. There's some healing, some certainly not as much as there used to be, and I think that's a source of a lot of pain, especially for longtime players who were used to being able to like really restore massive amounts of units all at once, right?
Yeah.
It does do board control pretty well. I think it has a good range of valuable units and internal balance, with some notable exceptions, which we will definitely talk about. It does have some solid melee options. Like, I think it gives a good game in melee in lots of different ways. There is some synergistic options there. And it does have some good ambush and deep strike options, which is important in something like shooting and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, weaknesses, and there are some for sure. There is no shooting. There's minimal anti-shooting, right? Other than, basically the deep strike options. You're sort of like some, in certain factions, or some units can sort of null deploy, which can keep you away from shooting for a little while.
There's one very strong anti-shooting tech in the army. Very strong, but that's it, and it really skews you into a certain build. But yes, overall, you're right.
Yep. I would call it average spellcasting, which I think has definitely pushed some people. Like, that's really been a head scratcher for some people. Like, the legacy of the vampire accounts is one where at least one of their bloodlines was necrarchs, right? So there was a spellcasty vampire bloodline, and that's just really not present in the same way. Like, we'll talk about what the spellcasting looks like. There is some ways to get bonuses. There's some ways to have some okay spellcasters, but like, it's average at best.
But they nerfed all of the spells in the bloodline spells, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I'm calling spellcasting like a solid average, because some of the War Scroll spells are like actually pretty interesting and good. Some of the lores, one is good, one is just straight up terrible, and I don't know how it got printed. There's some bonuses around, like +1, +2. There's like a single way to get rerolls. It's a mixed bag. That's the best I can describe it. Okay, yeah. And that mixed bag, in my estimation, my math says it comes out to average at best.
Yeah.
Right.
They didn't know if they wanted the vampires to be good at melee or at spellcasting, so they just said, "Well, we'll just give them neither." That's what they did.
Sure, with some exceptions, but yes.
Yeah.
There is one or two notable exceptions to that combat question. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there's some keyword bingo in here, and I don't have it listed in the weaknesses, but it's something that I would just call an awareness of. I talk about it way later in the presentation, kind of in the summary, but I'll mention it here now. That there is a decent amount of like wholly within bubble manipulation, which I'm not a fan of for some of your buffs. And so you've got to be like, it's not overwhelming, but it's also not there, right? Like it's there. Okay. Yeah. So you do have to, you're going to need to be aware of kind of aura range and stuff like that pretty effectively when you're running this force. There's not a huge number of modular pieces.
Yeah. Right? It's not a new player friendly army, which is kind of a bummer. And I'm perfectly happy with that, but it's kind of a bummer for the kind of release that this is for GW, that the hype on the Blood Knights and the coolness factor of awesome looking vampires. And it's going to be some feel bad when you have to do all the hyper measuring, and if you are in wholly within or not wholly within. I'm fine with that, that being a factor of the army, but it's really tough. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah. So, like I said, there are challenges. They're here, but I do feel that, like, if you had to say, gun to my head, does this come down on the good side of design overall or the bad side of design? I would still put it on the good. That's what I'll say. And I do have the updated slide at the end of this for our design power quadrant map, so don't worry, we will get there. One thing I want to say about the vampires is I think an interesting choice they made here is there was a point in Magic the Gathering some years back where vampires had been, they had been the color black's iconic. Okay, so it was like that all vampires that existed were like big BA cards. They had to be like big bad dudes. They were like angels. They were the opposite of angels, right? Where angels were the iconic of white Magic cards, right? And then they made a choice to say, actually, let's move vampires down to blacks, whatever they call the other side of that term. There's a term for like the stock monster of the thing. Okay. And so you could have 1/1 vampires, right? And you could still have like 5/5 and 6/6 and big giant vampires, but you could have little baby vampires too. And that feels almost like the same thing they did here, right? Where there's really this range. Like, yeah, some vampires are just kind of tougher people. And some of them are like really, really, really amazing, right? Just
but
like
they all
destruction.
But every vampire lord has 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 D3 damage though.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, it's other than the lance on the big boys, but I would love that. I would love that the Bloodborne unit in the Cursed City was the example of wimpy pack, scary to come across if they got their claws into you vampires.
Yep.
But they didn't do that really either, which is too bad. But
super miss. We should mention it up top. Super miss. Not taking that unit of the little vamp boys out of Cursed City and expanding them into a vampire infantry unit that was in this book was just the craziest miss.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They didn't even need to change the scroll that they already made for them. That's in the book that is completely unplayable because you're putting it in all the Cursed City stuff. But it's not overpowered. It's not weak. It's interesting, and they feel different, and they feel scary, but in some ways very fragile. Like, that's cool. Let us play this game. Let us allow us to have our toys, right?
Yeah, if those were just separated out, we'll talk about the whole dumb Radicor's court thing. But if those were separated out and had a reasonable unit size where you could run them in X to Y and they put out that box alone or something like that, or that with maybe like the Vargsgear, whatever. Like, such a win that would have been. Such a crazy win and such a cool new addition to the game, and they would have slotted really cool into Virkos, like whatever. Look, I hope for the future they do that, because honestly, my honest answer is there's no reason they couldn't, right? Like, just fix it in the future, I guess, is my ask.
Right.
So we'll see. There we go. Okay. Let's start with general allegiance abilities, shall we, gentlemen? Because obviously this is where it all begins. So allegiance abilities. I'll run through this and then we'll talk through the stuff. So grave sites, pretty much same as little changes, but 2 in your territory, 2 anywhere. You're able to set up your summonable units in reserve and emerge from the grave site. They also provide the 6-up Feel No Pain in addition to the heroes, which is nice. The Locus of Shaish.
One thing on grave sites, they changed it from Holy Within 9 to now Holy Within 12.
Yeah.
So previously you could zone out a grave site by just sticking a model on the grave site.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore.
Nope, good point. Yeah, that's an excellent catch.
Yeah, it's little subtle thing that will impact gameplay.
Very good. Yeah.
Yep. The Locust of Shaish spells double tap on a 9+ unmodified cast from the 2 spell lores and only the spell lores. Very important to remember. Your other spells do not double tap. Deathless minions, 6-up Feel No Pain, wholly within 12 inches of a hero or a grave site. The rest of the Allegiance abilities are on the next slide, but let's just stop here for a minute. This is all pretty much the stock standard stuff carried over. There was that small change, those 2 small changes we mentioned. Yeah, I don't have any problem with any of this. I mean, I think we're all fine with these, right? Like these were all same to positive, right? No big deal on just these 3. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the grave sites is great. It's an elegant change for the better. It's a small change. It allows more flexibility. I think it's great. The Locust is stupid because one of the best spells that you actually could ever cast, it doesn't work for, so that's just lazy design. But we're already seeing that this army is in its allegiance abilities, is at its core focused on hordes.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
It is. Like it is it is the focus on the hordes, which will come into play later on. So yes.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So like this is going to be a running theme that I think, John, you just started to pull the thread. That is, I think, something that is going to be like, there's a clear way they want you to play here, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then, like, boy, could they not have been more like shouting it from the rooftops a lot. Okay. The Locust Jack is on an unmodified thing. They don't use those exact words. They says like it has to be. It's unmodified. That's what it is. Like it is.
Yep.
But they say it in a roundabout, silly way. Okay. Now onto the stuff that I think is going to be perhaps have some more discussion. Reanimated horrors, neg 1 bravery to units within 6 inches of deadwalkers or death rattle units. Neg 2 bravery if within 6 inches of 2 units. Death units are not affected. Is this just a weird, like, this is a weird choice to me. Is this a weird choice to anybody else? Is it weird to anyone else that the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon does not cause a penalty to bravery?
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
But a unit of 10 skeletons does. Am I alone here? Am I losing my mind?
Yeah, it came up Saturday night where I had asked Dan, "Are you sure that's just Deadwalkers and Death Rattle?" It's like, check that again. That's got to be your whole army, right? But nope.
No.
Yeah.
just the little guys.
Yeah. It seems like this. Yeah, it would be perfectly fine for this to be just a Soulblight Gravelords rule.
Yeah.
Period.
Right. I like, of all the rules in the Allegiance ability, this is the one I read and I was like, but why then?
Yeah.
Their only reason for doing this was to simplify the game and simplify the scrolls and just take it off on all the banner bearers or whomever it was that gave it. But so I see their reasoning behind it, but it's still lame.
Yeah, exactly. Why not just give them the Night Haunt thing of, yo, death units are scary, yo.
Right.
Right. Like,
right.
I mean, that's I think what the actual rule is printed in the Night Haunt book. So just death units are scary, yo.
-1.
-1. Yeah, like I just don't understand why we needed to tie it to the 2 keyworded horde units, and then also have a trigger where it sort of doubles up. Just like I triple hate this rule. Okay.
Yeah.
1, I don't like who it's tied to. 2, I don't like that it pointlessly stacks once for no reason. And 3, the whole death units are not affected thing, just so it can be completely forgotten in the mirror match. Like, wonderful.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it runs a little against the legacy of Vampire Counts as well. I mean, that was always the fear-oriented army.
Right.
And it was a huge part of what that army was oriented around. And yeah, it takes away the ability to do some interesting anti-bravery, bringing in some of those death-oriented endless spells to stack on side. I don't know. It feels like you could have done some interesting things if that had just been army-wide.
Yep. Okay, Endless Legions. So this is now replacing the old, your general spends a command point and makes a unit pop back into existence. Which, look, it was a bad rule. Like, I'm sorry to break this to everybody who loves that rule, but that was a bad rule. Okay?
I'll disagree that it's a bad rule. I'll say that it was bad in the army that had Grimghast Reapers.
I'm not even talking about power. It was bad in design as much as it was anything else. Because it was clearly worth way more than one command point, and what it did is like hyper incentivize your enemy to snipe your general, because it became this total like swingy ability that if somebody could just zap your general off the board, you lost that whole allegiance ability and it was gone. If they couldn't, you could just lord over them with this ability to return your units back into place, right? It had this completely inverse anti-bell curve way it performed. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that like I didn't like the design of it in any way, shape, or form, and always thought it was just bad design. And I stand behind that, and we'll argue that to the grave. So this is the new version of it, which whether or not I like this better, I don't know whether we've gotten to the right place yet, but I do like this better. At the end of your battle shock, you roll a die on a 5++1 for each enemy unit destroyed that turn. You may return one destroyed unit of Dead Walkers or Death Rattle units at half strength. Set up wholly within 12 inches of a grave site, 9 inches from enemies. So, there you go. I will say in my game that I got in, I did get to do this, and it was useful. So,
yeah, 100%.
I just, like 2 units had died. I rolled the 3 up. Half my zombie unit came back that I had used as chaff, and that was cool. And then I had them to sit on a point for the rest of the game. So, because I got to use them as like early chaff to just get in the way and get destroyed, and then they became deck chair sitters later. So it was fine. With it. I like that it doesn't cost anything and just happens.
Yeah, 100%. That's my favorite part as well. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this. It reminds me a lot. I mean, just like it's another summoning time mechanic. A lot of games against Khorne, for example, over the years, where it'll come down to like round 4, round 5, and they summon in 10 Bloodletters. It reminds me of that kind of dynamic. And then those Bloodletters are the thing that wins you the game. Like, a lot of games I've lost because someone will summon, 10 bodies near the end of the game, of a close game, and that's the deciding factor.
Yep. Yeah, but that strategy in taking care of your blood tithe points in a way to give you an advantage when you need it, and it just happens. This is roll the dice. At best, it's a 50-50. You can't rely on this as a part of your strategy for a game. You just can't, right? Because you can't. It's just
pretty fair. Yeah,
it's tough. I don't think this is a bad rule in theory. I think that just some execution to it is just not quite there to where there's too much chance involved with allowing me to pilot my army in a way where I know that I can utilize a thing when I need to do it, and it feels good that I use my resources appropriately.
Right.
How often can you set up that when I need this on turn 4 is pivotal? I can kill 3 units. Well, if I killed 3 units, I'm probably winning the game anyway. But it's like it's just I don't know.
Yep. No, I get it. I think both of those things are true, right? Because, like, Spike hates a random roll. Okay?
Right.
Because you can't, like, John, your point is exactly correct. You cannot bank on this thing as a strat, right? It moved from a strategy to bonus nachos.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a completely different, like, regardless of the design quality, which, by the way, I think, like, the design quality of how it works and its cost, it's fine. Right? It's fine in that it costs you nothing and it has this variable chance to work and whatever. If we were taking it in a vacuum and just saying, how is this rule designed? I'd say, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But when we talk about the actual strategy of your army, the reality is you can't build around this anymore. No. Like you used to be able to know that reliably, you could have the ability to bring units back. Right? Now it's going to stick around. It's going to keep happening. You can't get like your general sniped out and lose this ability. Right?
Yeah.
which is good. But you don't. But you could just as easily spend 3 rounds in the game, 3 turns in the or sorry, 3 rounds in the game, rolling ones when you needed 2, right?
Yeah.
And like get nothing back, right? And
Yeah.
and how this rule reads to you is going to be very, very, very based on your psychographic profile and how you like to use your rules, right?
Sure.
If you're somebody that really enjoys sort of randomness in the play of your game, then you're fine with this. Like, this is a fun rule for you because you treat it as bonus nachos. You're not banking on it. It's just, hey, neat, half a unit came back. That's cool, right? If you're a spike type where you value reliability above all else, right? Because that's how, like, spike wins by removing randomness from the game, right? Then this rule is anathema to you, and it's garbage, right? So I think it's going to be it's a very divisive rule in that way.
Yeah, I think that's a great point though. In general, one isn't quite viewing it through that lens. The bonus nachos versus predictability to its planning. That's kind of shows that in a new light to me.
Yep. And again, it does focus on a lot of, saying, it focuses on a lot of saying, hey, you've got to bring back these summonable Deadwalkers or Death Rattle units, right? So again, focus into the Horde, focus into the Horde, focus into the Horde, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Deathly Invocations, which is heal a number of summonable units wholly within 12 inches of your Soulblight Gravelords hero. The number of units affected is based on the type of hero, 432. And no unit can be targeted more than once per round. That last sentence is the sentence that everybody read and was like, what? What?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you kept the army, at the allegiance abilities level and really at the power level, the army really focused on hordes, and then you nerfed it. And at the best, they were a C-level army before. And so not getting further in, I'm not saying that this means the army is bad, but I'm saying when you're reading the book for the first time, if you've played this Legion of Nagash before, you're like, what did you do to my mediocre army?
Right. Now, I think they certainly compensate in other ways because it's going to sound like what I'm saying is that, these things aren't very good. This army definitely changed its paradigm, right? Because I think before the most sort of the way that you thought about this army was as largely an attrition grind force, right? Where you would I can keep recurring my units, right?
Yep.
And I can just eventually wear you down. Like, I will outlast you, push you off, I'll hold the points, I'll lose things, but then I'll keep coming back, either through recursion of the unit individually, like restoring models, or recursion of the whole unit off of the command abilities, right? And what they looked at and said, nope, that's not how this plays anymore, right? Now it plays much more in probably like a forward echelon anvil hammer type of style, right? Where you've got a point of the spear, you push in, and then your other units surround, right? That really feels like the optimal kind of play now. And we can talk about how that breaks out in a couple of detailed things, right? So, and
I'll say this too about the Deathly Invocations. I think there's a easy middle solution here, and it's about something we'll talk about shortly, and that's the spell that all the mages can use that heals a flat 3 or 3 models. All they needed to do was keep it. You could only use that spell on 1 model. Every wizard in the Soulblight Gravelords army can cast that spell for free once a turn.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Instead of making it a cast, just make it literally they can do it in addition to their normal spells. Is what you're saying.
Yep.
Right?
If they're a 1 caster, they can get 2 spells around.
Yeah, that's an interesting solution. So they could do that and their spell. They still couldn't target the same unit more than once, but they can always do that.
Right. Yeah. And you still got to succeed your casting roll. There's still other things involved in it, but suddenly you feel like, we're not terrible. We've got this one backup thing that's really cool for us from a spell casting ability. Yes, we're not amazing spell casting army, but we've had this cool trick and it makes it feel cool. That's all they needed. I was read that spell 20 times thinking that I was missing where it said that, and it didn't. So
no, that that's a super good call. I want to restate that when we get to the spell itself, because
Sure.
It's a great call, John. That's a great call. That I'm on board for that 1000%. Okay. All right. Let's talk about subfactions. Okay. All right. Time stamped. Good. Subfactions. The Legion of Blood. Okay. Units that fail battle shock within 3 inches of a vampire add D3 models to the units that flee. And you ignore negative modifiers to hit and wound rolls for death rattle units wholly within 12 inches of a hero or 18 inches of the general, vampire hero or general. By the way, I only wrote down the command traits or artifacts that I thought were even worth mentioning. So if you do not see, like, yes, there are 6, okay, in this, and there is no, like, nope. Some of these just list 1. Okay. The command traits for this that matter to me are the reroll charge rolls wholly within 12 of the general, which just barely made it onto this list. Because you have so much, like, there is capabilities where, you know, rerolling charges for free is generally a pretty good thing. It's okay. Not sure it's worth a command trait, but it's not bad. Neg 1 to be hit in melee, and 6 to wound deals mortal wounds equal to the damage. Those are the 3 command traits.
There's a tasty one, the Sanguine Blur. Friendly units that start a pile-in move wholly within 12 of the general can move an extra 3 inches when they pile in.
I don't like it. It doesn't give them the extra. It doesn't let them pile in from outside of 3 inches. It's just they can do an extra 3 inches. It's not the good 6-inch pile in.
Thinking of 6-inch activation direwolves or zombies that are now piling in 9 inches.
Sure, I guess. I mean, like if you can do 6 inches, you can 2.9 people. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Like, you're already cheating. I'm not actually trying to laugh around you. I'm just trying to tie you down.
Right.
I'm retreat. I'm using the 6-inch cheat pile in to run and charge and retreat and charge. That's all it is.
Right.
So, like, you know, okay. It feels like gilding the lily would be my answer.
So which one do you guys like the most of the command traits?
I mean, old reliable neg 1 to be hit in melee ain't too shabby, right? Like, that's pretty good. John?
Yeah. I don't know. Legion of Blood's not good, so sure. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's just not.
6 to 1 is kind of interesting. You got some Keeper of Secret action going.
Correct. That's what made me list this. I've seen what this can do on the Keeper of Secrets when you put this on a high damage attack. And we are dealing with a model in this army that can have a very high damage personal attack in the Velazda. Right? And so being able to convert his lance immediately into mortal wounds, it's pretty good. Like, I've watched it just, like, it has saved my bacon on Keepers many times. When it just gets added into the mix and becomes a spiky thing that you can do, like, it can just spike off and be like, oh, I rolled 2 6s, you take, you know, a huge amount of mortal wounds. Like, oh, you're dead. Haha.
I mean, but that's difference of a solid point on a war scroll and a taking a legion that otherwise is just so meh for this. I don't know. I mean, we'll get to what it does well in a second, because I have a whole slide for that, and I do want to discuss this. All right. Artifacts +1 to save rolls. I do think that's a great artifact. I'm just going to say that straight out. Like,
100%.
Legion of Blood has a freaking great artifact in plus. And actually, Legion of Blood has 2 really, really great artifacts, I think. The other 4, I think, are basically trash. But the +1 to save rolls in the Soulbound Garments and the Oubliette Arcana, I think is so good. Like, I really, really, really think the Oubliette Arcana is so good. All right? So the way the Oubliette Arcana works is once per enemy hero phase, when an enemy wizard successfully casts a spell within 18 inches of the bearer, and that spell is not unbound, okay, even if a friendly wizard attempted to unbind the spell, so you get to roll at it first. Before resolving the effects of that spell, you can roll a die. On a 5+, that spell is unbound. I love this rule so much. Because how many times have you been staring someone down where they're just like, oh, 11, 12.
Yeah.
Right? They roll a high number. Just they might not even have a bonus. I'm just literally, they're like, here is a backbreaker spell. Whoops, 11. Right? And And you are like, well, I guess unbinding isn't going to happen now, right? Like, because even if you're a significant unbinder, if you get like +2 to unbind, you're still unlikely to nail that, right? You're needing like the 10. But on this, it's just a 33% chance every time. I don't care what you rolled. You can roll a 52 to cast, right?
Yeah.
On a 5-up, it's out of here. Dikembe Mutombo's in. He's like, no, no, no. Just smacks that down. So I really, really dig this this artifact.
Yeah, that's solid. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, in the Spelldom era, that's quite common nowadays.
Exactly, because it doesn't care about their bonuses. Outside of like Techless single spelling something, which by the way, if you force Techless into single spelling so that he doesn't have to deal with that, because his single spell thing says it cannot be unbounded anyway.
Yeah.
If you force him into that instead of quad casting, that's a win.
Yeah, huge win. Absolutely.
That's a huge win.
Right? Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it could be in a time in the game where they cannot take the chance of you hitting that 33% chance. Yeah. No, that's a good call out. Yeah, it reminds me. I think
that you do still get to roll first. Like, it's great. You're like, let me roll. Did I get it? Nope. Okay, this is the time I'll use the 5-up on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 18 inches not too bad of a range either.
That's fine.
It reminds me of a malign sorcery artifact that we used to have. I can remember the name of it, but I was thinking we had something like this.
Well, there was a couple that used to protect the person. The spell mirror in malign sorcery was like my all-time favorite pick. It was the one that could just that would stop spells on a crazy number, but it broke on a 1. That was my hot pick. What I love about this one is it's so much better. A lot of times units will have this kind of spell ignore, right? Like, oh, if they're affected by a spell on a 5-up, they're not affected or whatever, right? The problem with that is then the person can just not cast on that unit, right?
Yeah, right.
They can't get around this because you can move into position where you're within 18 inches of the caster who you know is casting. Now it doesn't matter who they target, you've got the shot, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think this is a super interesting artifact. I think Legion of Blood stands out as having 2 of the most interesting artifacts in the book.
Well, one thing I want to mention real quick that this book does right is it doesn't tie you into your first command trait and artifact is stuck
100%.
within the sub-allegiance that you pick.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that. I was used to recent books where I'm like, oh, I guess I just have to take this every time. So
100%.
Flexibility is fun.
Base design principle, we didn't mention this, but they went for the Slaves to Darkness, Cities of Sigmar model, which I am way more of a fan of. Yep. Way more than the Stormcast Chamber model, right? Of whatever. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
All right. So what does it do well? My estimation on Legion of Blood, and I'm keen for your 2 feedbacks. Let me get this out, Tyler, and then hit me up. Okay. Good for classic vampire style builds of a Vlazda and skeletons with necromancer support, right? Like this wants skeletons because the death rattle, no penalty to hidden wounds. When I say skeletons, I don't just mean like regular skeletons. I mean everything death rattle. I'm just using skeletons there in a generic fashion. Great build for Graveguard with Great Blades, as they can't suffer any penalties to hit or wound on their 3-up, 4-up, 2 damage mega chops. And good hammer and anvil style Legion, right? Where you're sort of like taking hits with your skellies and then hitting back with harder things. So.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely a really nice combo. Yeah, Vlazda and Nephi running around as a power pair. Give the Vlazda Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon the +1 save. So now 2-up save. Nephi, if the rumors are true, Mystic Shield, potentially get that off. She could be on a 2-up save. That's going to go to a +1 save on new Mystic Shields. She's, of course, got that spell that allows her to pick a friendly unit and ignore negative modifiers. But you can benefit from positive modifiers. Yeah, so I thought that'd be a nice little power pair that you could do. Another artifact that's kind of interesting to me is that Orb of Enchantment. Once per battle, at the start of the combat phase, you can pick one enemy hero within 3 inches of the bearer and roll a dice. On a 3-up, that hero cannot be picked to fight in that phase. So in a game over 2020, we saw a ton of Archaons running around, in Khorne, Tzeentch especially. Nurgle as well. That's but the only thing you wouldn't see it. And the ability to shut down Archaon for even just a single phase could be quite big in a game. Shadow Queen.
Sure, I would love it if it wasn't so, like, here's my problem. Once per battle. fine. I understand why it has to be. 2,
Yep.
enemy hero within 3 inches. Ugh. Just don't, like, anybody worth their salt is not going to pilot Archeon into within 3 inches of that hero. Okay?
Yeah.
If
probably,
it was
yeah.
like, once a game you can choose a hero within 12 and then roll the die, I'd be like, okay. Because generally once a game and still a random chance for it to happen, strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you're out of here right away, okay? But the fact that it's also such short range, I think it's a total, like, it's a miss. You're going to go game after game after game with it just doing nothing. It's this, that is the, here's the key. Here's how you tell, Tyler. You ready? If anything ever has orb in the name, it's bad.
Yeah.
The brass orb out of Skaven. Once a game you can throw it. Like, orbs are not good magic items. Whoever's sticking magic into orbs is not trying.
It's the water balloon of Warhammer.
Relocation orb. Different thing, but same principle.
Same principle.
Yeah. It reminds me of Goading Arrogance a little bit. I mean, yeah, like if this were 6 inches, like Goading Arrogance is, that would be awesome. Of course, Goading Arrogance is always up as long as you're alive, you know, and
a
so yeah,
repeatable longer range thing is better than a once a game random thing on a 3 up in 3 inches. Yes, but
it's, I don't know. I'd want to experience it. I could see potentially some value in where, I'm spending a lot of time on this. We can move on, but you know, where it's the potential threat of it, in terms of pick a spot on the board, have something that's 12, 14, 16, well, 12 or 14 inch move, maybe a Vengorian Lord, 12 inch. What is a Vengorian Lord? 10 inch, maybe a 12 inch move, and yeah, something with a decent move that it could have a decent threat. But yeah, it's certainly got some limitations to it.
I stand behind my 2 artifact picks.
It's probably fair.
All right. Anything else you want to say about the Legion of Blood?
Well, so John, you said you're not you think this was pretty bad, John?
Yeah, I think it's pretty bad. It's bad because skeletons are bad. It's bad because Graveguard have 4-inch move. It's bad because Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon is not worth his points and he was nerfed. But yeah, that's just my thoughts.
All right. I am going to stand all 3 of the things you just talked about later on in this show.
Oh, I look forward to it.
Yeah, Skelly's underrated.
I'm about skeletons. I'm living that skeleton life. Let me just tell you.
Skellies are awesome in a world that the book doesn't also include zombies.
Well, yeah, that'll be a fun discussion because I'm not sure I disagree with that point either. Okay, Legion of Night. Is this okay? New question, completely unrelated to the rules. Manfred is the best now, right? We all agree with that. Like, he's
Manfred's
turned it
awesome.
around.
He's awesome.
His PR campaign has worked. His new scroll, which we'll get to in a little while, is great. Like, Manfred, he's the comeback kid. Okay, like, you know, we love to see him fall, but we love to see him build themselves back up too. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Legion of Night, Manfred's Legion. So, +1 to save for Deadwalkers and Death Rattle in the first battle round.
Why did they nerf this? Why?
Okay.
Why did they nerf that? It's terrible.
What did it used to be? I don't remember.
It used to be +1 to save for Deadwalkers and Death Rattle while they are on your half of the battlefield.
Okay. So now it's for the first battle round. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because you can set the army up in reserve and come in from the edge of the battlefield, so now you can just always have it in the first round, I guess, even if you're not on your side. So that's fine.
just throw them back there to stand there and get shot anyway.
Sure.
Yes, that negative save is now a 6-up. Awesome.
Yeah. And then, yes, you can set up half your army in reserve and come on from within 6 inches of the edge of the battlefield, as we discussed. Legion of Night's classic tactic, right?
Yep.
An important thing to note here is that if you like search for bonus to charge in this book, you are going to get a 404 error. That file is not found.
Right.
So, you know, like realistically, if you're wanting to get a bonus to charge, then it's going to be our old friend the Cogs.
That's right.
Which I would say might be a hard cast. But I actually think your ally is your way to go there.
The old grip.
Or a particular artifact, which you may have referenced on the slide.
The Grim Hailer.
Sure, yeah. Call in the Grim Hailer. Yes, exactly. It's time to call in the Grim.
Yeah.
And I need you to power out a spell for me, Grimmy.
It's pretty easy to get +2 on Belladonna with re-rolling cast, though.
Sure,
That's not bad.
It is. That's true. But okay. So, but then you got to be Envier Coast. But anyways, we'll get there. All right. So your command traits. Set up anywhere on the battlefield, not 6 inches from the edge. In other words, you can just drop anywhere. I find that to be interesting and valuable depending on what your general was and the kind of things you might achieve with him. Especially if you were to, say, have Grimmy and or something like that, or the right bonuses where you could reliably get cogs up. The +2 to run and charge. So the one exception to the thing I just said, which is nice. Like, I mean, that's not bad. Like Swift form, like +2 to run and charge is good, but obviously you can't take both that and the setup anywhere because it is a command trait. So, but you know, you can give it to somebody come in from 6 inches on the board edge and then scream in on the 7 or even the 5 with cogs, which isn't bad. I think this is literally the only instance of a bonus to charge in the book right here.
There's some re-rolls, but Zombie Dragon's at a 100 millimeter base on the Zombie Dragon. It's not.
No, he's 130.
It's not the. Okay, but it's not the 160.
No, it's not the 160.
Was the main.
He's
okay, good. All right. So you can actually ambush it. All right, good.
That would feel bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But Legion of Night has some really solid. I'll just say I think it has some solid command traits. The problem with the +2 to run and charge is that it's actually like overwhelmed by other things. So Unholy Impetus, if in the combat phase, if any enemy models are slain by attacks made with melee weapons by this general in that phase, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons used by friendly Legion of Night models wholly within 12 of the general until the end of that phase. I mean, that's pretty great. You'll often have people who have lots of attacks. You'll often have units that want to fight seconds. So that's not bad. It is another wholly within 12 bubble, but it's like +1 attacks is good. I don't know.
That's what Melnick set up in that battle report I referenced, Pants Mafia. Yeah, so you had Manfred, Blazda, and however many, like 20 Graveguard. So they were all in combat. And yeah, he did Unholy Impetus, activated the Blazda first to then kill something to get the +1 attack to everything else, particularly the Graveguard, wholly within 12. And then I think he did the same. Manfred's command ability, +1 hit, +1 wound.
Yeah,
so
scary.
Yeah, really, pretty nice.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like with this, and there's actually quite a few ways to get +1 attack in this book. Still, like that's still a pretty common Benny that's handed out in a couple different places, and most of it is a like 12-inch type of bubble to do it. But I mean, again, that really says you can do some power pairs where you can get a unit swinging way above its weight. You know, if you push Graveguard up to like 4 attacks,
unit of mini Kurnoth swords, rolling around.
It's scary. It's scary, especially on their little 25 mils.
Right.
And then Neg 1 to wound rolls. I stand behind Neg 1 to wound. I think it's just a way better bonus than Neg 1 to hit. So,
I mean, some of this stuff too. You take it with an asterisk of stacking in 3.0. Like the -1 to rune rolls in melee, corpse guards do it better. +1 to attacks. There's 3 other reliable ways to get +1 attacks. If you can't stack them, then suddenly some of these are like, well, do I want to use my command trait there? Luckily, Knight has 2 other ones, like you said, the set up anywhere and the +2 run and charge. So solid options. Solid options.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see if they do that, if they take away the pluses to attacks. Like,
I just don't see it being capped. I'll really say that. I just don't see it. Now, that being said, if they do, I mean, it changes a lot of things. But we haven't heard any rumors about it. I don't think it'll happen. Who knows? We'll see. I could see, whatever. We'll see. We'll see. And then artifacts, they basically have a sort of battle brew, right? +1 to hit and wound. Rolls for in melee once per battle. Solid, right? I mean, that most like your big units that you're going to put this on are going to have a round where they're trying to break a unit. You're going to pop it that round. It's fine. I mean, Battle Brew was great for a long time. It was good because, you know, usually you have one round where you really, really need to kill something.
Yeah.
when you absolutely positively need to kill everybody in that unit except no substitutions. But then the artifact you're probably going to take in Legion of Night is the hero can give +2 to cast all wizards wholly within 12 of the bearer, but the bearer cannot move, charge, shoot, or fight. So, you know, it's...
Yeah. Necromancer in the back, hanging out with some zombies or skellies.
Sure.
Yep, for sure. I mean, this Legion of Night, and we saw it in Legion of Blood, and we'll basically see it for the most part in the other ones, is they're all, most of them, especially the good ones, are about a killy general. And that bugs me because that just means Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon.
Sure.
Maybe Vengorian Lord, maybe. I still don't necessarily agree with that, but it's like you are pigeonholing every army to run that one thing. It's like, why wouldn't you give us some other cool options for all these other interesting characters that we just, you know, we can't use them as our generals, or we can, but we're not taking advantage of what all these good command traits and artifacts are giving us.
Yeah. Do you want to know what my biggest, so remember when I mentioned the keyword bingo at the start of the show? This is one of the places where it pops up, because you know who I want to give the claw to? Crits.
Oh yeah.
Because Crits is cheap and he's 6 wounds.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's harder to like one shot with a catapult, which is always what I'm thinking about. Like, I live in that catapult is this boogeyman that lives in my mind, right? And Kritza would be so perfect because he's cheap. I could just throw the claw on him. You know, you could run around and then plant where he needs to be, right? And then just bonus out. Like, maybe he moves the first round, and then later rounds he's just set up now. And he just boop, boop, boop. He pulses out his whole thing. I don't need him to fight or whatever. The problem with that is he's Virkos. He's already stapled, and these artifacts can only go to Legion of Night heroes. So this is one of those places where I was talking about sort of like this kind of keyword bingo thing sucks. Because yes, you're right. You're gonna put it on a necromancer. So, yep.
Well, he's also a named character, so you couldn't do it even if he wasn't.
Oh, sure, yeah, yes, exactly. You're absolutely right. But that's who I like. The Virkos locking is that kind of thing. But yes, you're right. I could see like maybe a White King, like a mounted White King, maybe being somebody you gave this to who they could move up far enough and be relatively tough enough the first round, and then set up in place, like whatever.
Yeah.
So
that'd be cool. We mentioned Reikenor for the bonuses to cast, but yeah, this you've got a built-in artifact right there for Cogs. Now Cogs in a 5. There you go.
Sure.
Without even having that ally, Reikenor.
Again, the problem is Reikenor goes into any subfaction. Here, you've got to be in Legion of Night to get this. Right? Sure.
But, yeah, 100%. But yeah, it gives you fairly reliable ambush charges of Lazda, Blood Knights, Bargeist coming in. So yeah, definitely see a lot of builds that kind of match what I said on that game on Saturday night. You know, lots of bodies and a good number of hammers. Like then with Cogs up, you come in and just got a lot in your face. That then you don't need 9s, just looking for 7s, maybe some rerolls.
Right.
Depending on what 3.0 looks like in terms of the number of CP we're going to be generating. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I really like Legion of Night. I think it'd be fun and competitive. Yeah, and Manfred's bonkers. Yeah, I'm pretty intrigued by it.
Yeah, so what does Legion of Night do well? This is my read on it. Good for, again, classic vampire style builds of like Velazda and skeletons and stuff like that with necromancer support. That's still true here as well. I think it's a great anti-alpha, right? Between the bonus to save and your ability to set up in reserve, it's actually a really strong anti-shooting, anti-alpha type of build. It's probably the most resistant to that kind of stuff. So, especially if in the world of 3.0, as has been rumored, there's going to be like a +1 save command ability, right? That got thrown around, like one of the hold charge reaction or whatever was talked about, right? If that's if that ends up being real, then the fact that I could take skeletons or something like that, have them be my in the first round, then they'd be on a 3-up, right? In the first battle round. That's pretty ridiculous.
Was that one of the charge reactions?
As there was
I can't remember if that was one.
There was like a move away, a shoot, and then a hold. Yeah.
Okay. The hold. Yeah. Okay. And like a Mystic Shield potentially.
Or Mystic Shield. Sure. Exactly.
Yeah.
But the point is that could act like in this build. I think you're really strong anti-alpha tech. If you've got some dumb unit of 30 skeletons with sitting on like a high save, that's nuts. That's actually quite tough to move, right? And when it does, who cares?
So you're saying there's not going to be a cap on plus to save?
Yeah, like if I'm assuming you're right. I'm assuming, like I said, we haven't heard a rumor there's a cap, or we have. Well, that's true. We have a rumor there's a cap and plus a save. So you're right. Then they'd stick on 4-up. You're absolutely right.
John, you're killing our dreams here, John.
I know. Well,
No,
hey,
right.
I want
honest.
the dreams. I want the dreams to be real.
You got to keep me honest. Yeah, they'd be on a 4-up. So there you go. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
You're absolutely
definitely.
right. Thank you, John. You're keeping me honest.
Trying.
But yeah, like kind of like this.
It's so weird right now to be talking about a book because I'm trying to like hold in my mind how it works now and hold in my mind with all the rumors of what's happening in 3.0, right? And like, yeah, okay. Anyways, please keep going.
Well, yeah, just this Legion and I plays very much into that alpha bunker. I mean, that was part of what the Army Legion of Nagash could always do really well. Like it had that built-in. You don't necessarily want to give this army first turn, which is just amazing as part of the foundation for an army. And, you know, grave sites are mini teleport beacons. So you be thoughtful, you know, put 2-up outside of your territory near your opponent, you know, on objectives in the middle of the board. You can zone out those objectives with lots of bodies. Just, I love that aspect of this army, and that you combine that with more damage output, as far as I can tell, that they have now. Like they didn't use, I don't remember them doing as much damage as I'm seeing it do, other than like skeletons and Grimgeist Reapers. I mean, so you had that from those units, but yeah, I think it's really intriguing Legion in that regard.
Yeah,
like sort of the alpha bunker and the hammer combo.
Yep. Okay. Cool. All right, Virkos Dynasty, the Wolfie boys. All right.
Yeah.
Well, the Wolfies.
Yes. The Wolfies. Okay, so Le Pacte de Loup here. Obviously an amazing movie. Go watch The Brotherhood of the Wolf if you haven't already. Come on now.
Yes.
There we go.
So good.
At any rate, +1 to wound for Death Rattle and Deadwalker units, wholly within 9 inches of a vampire hero. Reroll casting rolls for vampire wizards, and I have written here for some reason.
Poor necromancers. They just get jobbed at every corner.
Every turn. I don't understand why it's only vampire wizards, and I don't understand why this is in the Virkos dynasty, the werewolf dynasty. I do not understand this in any way, shape, or form. That feels so stapled on. I can't even like. I can't even like. I don't get it. But it's good. It's fine.
Maybe they decided Van Hells doesn't need any help.
I guess.
Right.
I mean, I think this is so my read on Virkos is I quite like it. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
+1 to wound on these units is freaking great. What an amazing bonus. I do dislike strongly the Wholly Within 9. Why couldn't this just be Wholly Within 12? Guys,
12. Yeah.
We've had the talk. You figured it out with grave sites. Most books now, the smallest range you see is Wholly Within 12. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Like it's a. Yeah. Okay. Anywho, yeah. So like that's this little thorn in my paw of an otherwise I think great subfaction. But it's I hate when like just it should be 12.
Yeah.
I would love it if they just in the FAQ they won't do this, but I would love it if in the FAQ they just were like replace Wholly Within 9 with Wholly Within 12. We're sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
We had an off day.
Yeah. Like oops. That got through. Okay. Command traits. Once per turn, use a CA without a command point being spent. Huge fan of that. Again, especially in light of rumored new command abilities and just even what's in this book now, whether we're talking 2.0 or 3.0. Fantastic. Love it. Okay.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Especially, I seem to recall Virkos and the War Scroll. Like, there's a number of command abilities you want to use with Virkos.
Yes.
You know, the
generally strong command
title
abilities in this lineage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. You can summon 5 direwolves once per battle. That's cool. That's a cool ability. I don't mind that at all. I generally like those kinds of like free summon things. I think they are generally quite good. The other thing that I will say about this, the summon 5 direwolves, why I think it is even better than it initially reads, is because much like the Doc Keltnar ability to summon 5 Canary, it is not round locked, like
Right.
the like all ambushing units are, where they have to show up by turn 4. Okay.
Mhm.
Now it is tied to this guy still being alive,
Right.
right? Which is a thing. But the fact that in round 5, if that dude or lady is still alive, she can just be like, point mine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is so
absolutely.
strong. So strong.
Yeah.
I mean, Doc was keeping a 60% win rate for a year and a half off of the ability to hold Canary until round 5.
Right.
Okay? Like in a 5-round tournament, you were winning 1 game with Doc off of that ability.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Oh,
what
good.
we'll say. And then, but of course, none of this matters because we're going to talk about the only one you're actually going to take, which is Hunter Snare,
Oh
which
yeah.
is the general counts as a
Love it.
number of models equal to his wounds for purposes of taking an objective. Holy Moses!
Why is this here and not in the monster one?
Right?
Like, why? What?
Yes.
Yeah.
What? This is
Yeah.
just
Doesn't it feel
ridiculous.
like it should be an Avangori trait? Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
The all monster mash one, where it's literally just going to be 6 monsters who are all derpily running around counting as one guy.
Yeah. Dumb.
Yeah.
Dumb. Also, there's another command trait that you didn't put on here that I think is in contention for consistent use, and that is the spores that allows Deadwalkers to move 3 inches in the hero phase if they're within 12 inches of the general. Just having that flexibility of move in the hero phase with a unit of 40 zombies and then a screen of 10 direwolves in front of them as well, it can be pretty good.
Okay. I'll agree with that, but not actually for the 40 zombies, because that sounds like a nightmare.
I can move them 3 and then again in 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. My answer would be, look, man, just move your 7. Okay.
Yeah.
So fine.
Yeah.
I'm all right with that. I'll count it. I would seriously force my opponent to just move the 7 inches.
Yeah.
Like, if you move 3 and then move 4, I'm coming across this table.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been enjoying that as Iron Jaws. People are like, just do your 18 or whatever the hell you're gonna
do. Do it. Just do the whole movement, man.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Hunter Snare equal to wound characteristic. Yes. Let's say you've got 4 wounds left. Is it the 4 wounds that you have left, or is it the 14 wounds on the zombie dragon that you start out with?
It's your characteristic, not your wounds remaining.
Okay. I figured, but just want to check. Yeah. Okay.
Nope. And so, I agree with you, John, but actually I like it for a different reason, which is when I'm thinking about that, the Deadwalker move 3 inches, and that is for the corpse cart.
Because that is a Deadwalker.
Is also a Deadwalker, and it oftentimes has interesting bonuses that I want to make sure my heroes are in the range of, and so getting a little extra movement to scoot that bad boy around in the hero phase when like, oops, I'm not gonna get its bonus to cast. Yes, I am.
Right.
Right. The number of times in a game you've been an inch outside of a Holy Within bubble in your hero phase, how many times that happened in your games? I'm just saying.
Or to just poke a unit for the -1 to wound 9-inch aura too. Like that's a game changer if you can get it there or not.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, I am going to fully agree that I did miss that one solely because of I agree on the chaffing for the giving a little speed to zombies, chaffing for the direwolves, and most importantly for the moving the corpse cart into position, because I just think the corpse cart's one of the best units in the book. Like, it's so good. It's ridiculous. Artifacts.
That's on the Hunter Snare. That was the one piece where I could see a Vengorian Lord, and I haven't started writing a list yet, but I was thinking about what are potential uses of a Vengorian Lord. It's like a little cheap Velocita. Stick that on there. You've got an independent operator, that can go around and try to snag objectives.
Yeah, it's still more than 10. That's all that matters, right? Like, once you cross the threshold of 10 on the wounds, you're where you need to be, right?
Because he's 10 wounds, so he just needs to kill one model, skeleton, one bloodlet, whatever. Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like, that's like theoretically that thing can kill one model. So, yes.
I would hope.
Okay. Artifacts plus D3 attacks to the bearer's chosen melee weapon. So, Velazda Lance plus D3 attacks is what that might as well read.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that dude's shoulders are going to get tired from all the weight he's got to carry in this book. By the way, I love that they said Sirin. That's Siran. I don't know how to pronounce these words. That's the name of the artifact. I love that it's a sword. Okay. And like, you knew when you wrote that who it was going on. You couldn't just say it was a magical lance.
Right.
Right? No, it's a magical sword. Okay, fine. And then +1 to charge, and then the other artifact, +1 to charge. Oh, that is the other +1. Sorry, I forgot. +1 to charge once a battle for each vampire. I wrote this in a messy way, so let me rewrite it. Or let me re-say it. Once per battle, in your charge phase, you can say that the bearer will be imbued with Villainous' stealth. If you do so, which that seems wrong. If you do so until the end of that phase, add 1 to charge rolls for the bearer for each other friendly Virkos Dynasty vampire hero on the battlefield. So you can get like plus quite a bit to charge, right? Theoretically, theoretically +5, I guess, if you had the full. If you had 6 Virkos heroes on the battlefield.
Sure.
Yeah, it's fine. It's cool. I mean, +5 to charge is pretty good. Like, I don't know. It's a pretty good ability. Even once per battle, it's not bad. Yeah, okay. What does Virkos do well? Great for all the new faction-locked heroes being put to the best use. So, here I'm talking about Chadakar the Beast. I'm talking about Poison Grandma, you know, even maybe like Kritza and Anika doing some work here, right? Solid choice if you love Direwolves, for various reasons we've talked about. Better spellcasting, again, somehow. I guess Wolfblood makes you a good spellcaster. Who knew? And really strong objective play with the command trait. So there you go.
Yep, absolutely. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good, man.
All right, good.
Yep. Okay. All right. CW, why are you saying it's +3 at most? I don't understand why that would be why that thing would be capped at +3. I don't understand that. Maybe I'm missing something. Okay. Anything else you want to say about Virkos, gentlemen?
Like it's in my opinion, it's the best allegiance in the book, or sub-allegiance.
Okay.
For sure.
I think it's definitely in contention. It's strong. It's strong.
Right. Especially when we're talking about Belladonna and Radikar counting as generals, and we're doing the 3.0 mystical ball. If that means something for CP generation, if it means something, whatever, because they count as generals. There are faction locked generals in this book. In the book does nothing with that. It literally doesn't exist. So we got to assume that there's something there that could make this stronger, because they're the 2 strongest named characters, or 2 of the 3, if you want to argue a couple others, in the whole book. The strongest point wise, for sure. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. Castelli Dynasty. Blood Knights can be put into ambush, set up from 6 inches to the edge. Vampires gain bonuses when they destroy units. Quite good bonuses, too, I might add. And this is vampires gain bonuses. So not just Blood Knights, although certainly they can do it, but also, you know, any vampire stuff, including Vargheists, which are also vampires, ironically. Big monstrous vampires, but they are vampires. Command traits, quite a few I think here that stand out. The general gains the ability off of that blood steel. What is that actually called? Might? No, that's not what it's called. What is this called? Might of the Crimson Keep. That is what it's called. Blood Knights, the general gains the Might of the Crimson Keep ability when a friendly unit destroys an enemy unit within 6 inches. Kind of cool that you don't have to try to like play the game of who destroys the thing. So if the general's there and then the unit beside him destroys it, the general still gets the ability even if he failed to destroy it or didn't activate or whatever. Again, reroll charge only within 12. There is a run and charge ability in here, but to me, it's all about the once per battle go Super Saiyan and gain the Might of the Crimson Keep abilities regardless of enemies being slain.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
not even a question. Not
that's
even a
what we're
question.
in for here.
Yeah.
Let's not kid ourselves, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because this is like, it's not just for that person. It's once per battle at the start of the combat phase. You punch this button, and friendly Castelli Dynasty vampire units wholly within 12 of this general benefit from bloodied strength, which is 1 to damage characteristic of their melee weapons, and stolen vitality, which is add 1 to the wounds characteristic of that unit, right? If they have not already gained them.
Sure.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Because that's what this comes down to, is you're trying to get the +1 to your damage characteristic. The other ones are, and you need to kill a hero or like a monster with X wounds or more, which the opponent sees, hey, oh, you're playing this army where if you kill my hero, really, really bad things happen for me. I'm just not going to allow that to happen. And this whole dynasty is suddenly not very good. But if you can once a phase, you have two flanks of 10 Blood Knights. In the middle, you've got a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon. You can just torpedo them if you can set that up, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. Like, Castelli is about setting up for that explosive turn, right? That's what it is. Like, everybody here wants to charge. This is the I want to charge lineage, right? And so, yep, that'll do it. Like, a giant bubble of +1 damage does a crazy amount of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, Saturday night I experienced that too. Zombie dragons benefiting from it.
That's a lot of damage.
Pretty good. Yeah.
It's a lot of damage.
Yep.
Well, it doesn't count for the mount stuff, but it does give you the scarier lance.
Right.
So.
Yes. Okay. And obviously, like, Blood Knights themselves, or honestly, even, like I said, I mean, this is going to be vampires who can get it. Even a unit of Vargheists.
Oh, yeah.
This bonus
3
is
damage.
not bad. Like, 3 damage Vargheist is not, that's, you know, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Artifacts, neg 1 to be hit by shooting attacks. Okay.
Sure.
Once per battle, +1 to deathless minions. For Soulblight Gravelords, wholly within 12 inches of the bearer. Really good.
Mm-hmm.
And neg 1 to wound rolls in melee for enemies within 6 inches of the bearer. I quite like both those last two. The fact that you can you're I was like, what is opening your door behind you, John? There's something trying to stalk you behind you.
There's a cat.
No, it's just funny because I couldn't see the cat at first, but the door just went like, it's like, oh no, the vampires have come for him. He knows too much. The fact that you can, like, buffing the deathless minions to a 5-up in an aura around the dude is just really strong for that turn you need to hold. And +1 to wound rolls, or sorry, neg 1 to wound rolls in a 6-inch radius is again really strong. I really stand behind the neg 1 to wound roll as a penalty. I think it's really strong, so I just think that's really good.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah, again, experienced that one, and it was huge Saturday. Yeah,
Right on.
Turning 3s into 4s, and yeah, not fun.
I think John has to go deal with a cat issue.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so what does it do well? Shockingly, if you like Blood Knights, this is a pretty good place for them, is what I have here.
Yeah.
The ability to make Blood Knights both an incredible hammer and an anvil for a round when you're pushing in. Like, I think about the ability to combine both the bonus, like to pop the button of we all now have +1 damage and an extra wound, and we all have a 5-up deathless minion save in this aura around me, right? And just like, what a crazy thing to shift that is that round. Like, you can charge into most anything and be like, yeah, we'll probably weather this, right?
Yeah.
Which I quite like. It is obviously focused on charging and destroying, and it will be even better if Blood Knights gain retreat and charge with their ability in 3.0, which they do not have right now, but it very much feels like they want to.
It feels like, that they should, sure. I mean, the one thing that confuses me with Castelli and Legion of Blood is like, why are they not the same? Like, they feel like they're the same thing. Why didn't they have just make them all Legion of Blood or Castelli and then actually have a magic one? Or,
Right.
it's like, I don't like that these are two separate ones that feel similarly in how you wanted to build them, but I don't know.
No, I agree. It feels like they could have probably condensed both of those into one and then had the sort of Necrarch kind of inheritor, right, of weird spellcasting, necromancy focused vampires and death mages and stuff like that, right? Yeah.
Of course, that was Sacraments, which with Archon out, that's why that's the big hole. But yeah,
I mean, again, do we need him though? Like, we could have just done it without Archon. Like, again, classically going back to the old vampire books, we had Necrarch bloodline vampire.
Yeah,
it existed. We didn't need Archon before. We don't need him now. Right? We could have done this. He was a 100%. Pretender to the spellcaster throne, anyways, right? So yeah, I mean, it just feels like we had the tech there and we just didn't bother to go draw on it. So I guess yes, Holy Hand Grenade said Castell, I don't like skeletons, Legion of Blood likes them. That is the difference. Like, I guess
that's our thing. Okay,
Neffy really likes skeletons. She thinks they're cool, and she's drawn a line. Okay,
line in the sand.
It's a line in the sand. What Neferata wants, Neferata gets, and she wants skeletons. She likes the Bone Boys. That's what she's here for.
Yeah,
I'm not going to judge her. Don't you either. I think in the End Time short story there was a bit of a romance between her and Archon. Okay, so I mean, she does have a thing for skeletons. I'm just saying. That happened. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. So, Avangori, the one that I love the most, of course, because guaranteed, I will love whatever the worst thing is.
It's funny you say that. I think it's the second best.
Oh wow! Wow, do I think this is not good? But that's okay.
Wow. Yeah.
All right. I love it nonetheless. I want to build. Like, I legit have been thinking about collecting this army. Okay.
Granted, the version of this that I think is the second best still uses a buttload of zombies, Vince. So you're probably out.
Yeah, sure, exactly. No, I'm talking 7 model army here, bro.
Yeah,
buddy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. All right. Avangori. Cursed mutations for your Terrorgeist and zombie dragons, who, including your you can put those on like Velocitus and stuff. The regular Terrorgeist and zombie dragons are battle line. They become battle line, so you get your big monster mash battle line. Neg 1 to wound against your monsters by non-monsters, which I think is just a really cool ability.
It's very good. Very, very good.
And one monster can fight as though it had 0 wounds each round, once per battle per monster. So you basically, no matter how damaged you are, you can fight at the top of your chart for one monster each round, which is cool. I do like that rule being put in there. The problem with this dynasty is that now you only have 3 command traits and 3 artifacts because you got the cursed mutations. Because I guess just there's some kind of law that you cannot extend over another page or something.
2-page limit.
Yeah, that's. I guess that's just it. So we had to put the hammer down on that one real fast. The command traits, the only one that I think is probably worth anything, is the eye for an eye. If any wounds or mortal wounds are allocated to this general in the combat phase, add 1 to the damage characteristic of melee weapons used by this general, including their mount, until the end of that phase, which is why I quite like that command trait, because it does include their mount. And because you're neg 1 to be wounded generally, and you can oftentimes also get a neg 1 to rend on there, depending on what kind of how the board is shaping up and how you're using your Vengorian Lords or Luke of Eye, you actually can withstand pretty well an enemy assault. And so punch back. And like the key is between that and the fact that if you want to, you can fight at the top of your profile. Right? Means you can go, okay, I can take the chance. You probably won't kill me. But if you don't kill me, I'm definitely going to kill you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
At -1 to wound, -1 rend, I'm fighting at top, you're done.
Right. Exactly. So I will say this is what I did run when I did my test game, or when I played a test game of SBG 2 weeks ago. I did win that game, so that was cool. I did have some zombies on my list because I'm a sellout. But anyways, and I did use this command trait, and it was pretty good. So that's what I'll say.
Yep.
Artifacts, they're all bad. So great.
Yeah.
There's really no reason to discuss them. They are some of the worst written artifacts in this or any book. The people who wrote this should probably feel bad. That's what I'll say.
Was this the list of a whole bunch of once per battle,
Yes.
just garbage?
Yeah.
Yes. Once per battle, do a garbage thing that wouldn't even be good if this was every round. Yes.
It's just lazy. Yeah, hate it.
I like the artifacts in this are in this dynasty are so mind blowing. It might as well just say, "Boy, I hope Plate of Perfect Perfection sticks around in 3.0."
Right.
Right? Because I love Plate in this because you can then combine it with the Vengorian Lord to take -2 round down to 0. So
is it what's played again? Is it a reduce Rend by 1 or is it ignore Rend of 1?
It's
the
Plate of Perfect Perfection is you treat Rend -1 as 0.
Okay, so you reduce Rend by but do you treat Rend of -2 as Rend of -1?
So then if you reduce like the Vengorian Lord, because you get to choose the order of
application.
right?
Sure, I see what you're saying.
So that you would use the Vengorian Lord to bring it down to -1, and then the plate would ignore the other one. Right?
I gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
So that's fun. But again, like I hope that sticks around because otherwise this just literally has an artifact you could write down and then forget about, and you would miss nothing.
Yeah.
Curse mutations, I actually think are pretty decent. The once per turn at the start of combat, you get to slay a 1-wound model and heal a wound. I actually quite like. Not because of the heal a wound, although that's fine. Because I like removing the champion out of LRL units so they can't cast spells, and the Hecatos out of that, and also the rumor that List Labs dropped on us was that unit champions are going to be able to use command abilities in the next in 3.0, and so I want to eat unit champions. Right. So, like, removing a unit's ability to use a command ability seems pretty good. Connor Armstrong says, where is the plate from? It is the Chamon Realm artifact. So if you declare that your army is from Chamon, you can then you take that artifact in replacement of one of your other normal artifacts. And you will only have one artifact in this build. So, there you go.
Yeah.
And then once per battle, you can run in charge, which that's the other curse mutation I like because, run in charge is just always good. So
Yeah, you take that top one, though. That one's just quite good.
Yes. Agreed. What does Avengori do well? Monster Mash. It was, in fact, a Graveyard Smash. I think it's the weakest build of the book, but it is great fun. It does make fairly resilient monsters that can do good work in concert. So there you go.
Yeah. I think it's strong because of zombies. Because zombies are so good and so cheap that this one can smash harder than any of the others, and it can still have the bodies. Now, it doesn't have the thing that most monster lists need to actually function, which is count as X models in terms of objective scoring. It doesn't have that. But if you can control 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5 objectives, and you are in their face and not letting up, we'll be to the end of 3 and they're not going to be able to catch back up, in theory. That's my thought. This is completely my theory, but I think this list has potential.
Cool.
Yes. Okay. So let's move into the let's talk about the spells real quick, and then we'll get into the units. So the spells, 1 great lore, 1 very lacking lore. We already mentioned the universal spell. John already fixed it, so I look forward to that in the FAQ. That's not how it works right now. But yes, you have a universal spell that casts on an 8 plus 1 for each Soulblight Gravelords hero on the battlefield. You can cast it an unlimited number of times. You heal up to 3 wounds or restore up to 3 wounds of models. No unit may benefit more than once per turn, which means that the most you can restore to any single unit is 3 plus a D3, assuming both of these things fire between your 2 things. Now, zombies and skeletons themselves have their own self-healing, so those are kind of separate, but outside of that, it's 3+D3 on top of that.
Which is nice because it's tied into action, right? It's tied into doing something with those units, and I'm all for that in terms of a fun game. You know.
Yep, I agree. Lore of the Vampires. There is one spell that is worth talking about. It is called Amethystine Pinions. It is what every one of your vampires will have. The problem, it's cool that it's +6-inch move. That's a great spell. It's fantastic. But the cast, it's on the caster themselves. And they cannot benefit more than once per turn. So if they do get lucky enough to double tap it, nothing happens. It's a complete non-bow with their Locus of Shaiish.
Right.
Okay.
95% of the casters in your army can only cast Lore of Vampires. There's one good spell. The one rule we gave is you can double tap, and you can't double tap on this spell. How dumb is that? Let me choose another hero within 12 inches. It's not any reliable thing that it's going to happen anyway. Just let me do that. Or what? I don't know. It's silly.
Yeah. Yeah, the Lore of the Vampires is truly underwhelming. Like, boy, oh boy.
What Vile Transference is odd that lasts roll a number of dice equal to half of that enemy unit's wound characteristic. Rounding up, for each 6, you can heal 1 wound allocated to the caster. Enemy unit's wound characteristic. So if you do that to
unit wound characteristic isn't a term in the game.
Right.
So
I mean, it's like, in other words, if you throw it at a 1, so let's make this real.
Yeah.
First of all, 6 inches, ridiculous. Secondly, dice equal to half that enemy unit's wound characteristic. Their wound characteristic, if they have a wound characteristic of 1.
Of 1, right.
You roll 1 die. For each 6, you can heal a 1 wound allocated to the caster. This spell is so bad, I can't wrap my head around what they thought it did.
Yeah. Well, the old one was you deal D3 mortal wounds to a unit, you heal that number of wounds back.
Right.
Why did you nerf that? It wasn't even that great to begin with.
100% it was fine in its old form. This spell is so bad. Again, like, it's so just...
It's not even that good, and presumably what they intended, which is like 20 skellies, you roll 20 dice.
But that's not what you do.
It doesn't even work that way, though.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out, like, what may have they actually...
What were they thinking this spell did?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, let's say that's the case. It's
they wanted you to go after a hero. It's
a unit of 40 skeletons. You cast it. You roll 20 dice. You roll 3 6s. You heal 3 wounds in the best case scenario.
I know, within 6 inches, right? Even in generous,
Like, you throw this at let's use the. Here we go. Let's be the most positive we can about this. You ready?
I know what you're gonna. Yep, I got it.
Okay. My character happens to be within 6 inches of a Mega Gargant.
Of a Mega Gargant, yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
I cast this spell.
I'm almost dead. I'm almost dead, too.
Sure, I get to roll 18 dice.
Yep.
That's half his wounds characteristic rounding up. Right?
Yep.
I'm charting out the literal best case here. Okay? Yep. Statistically, I heal 3 wounds.
Amazing.
In what universe would you take this spell? This might win an award for, like, the worst spell ever printed.
Yeah,
really bad.
It's shocking. And this is coming from somebody who plays Slaanesh. And let me tell you what, there's some real stinkers in there, okay?
Yeah.
Like, bad. Super bad. But this, yikes. Okay. So anyways, Lore of the Vampires, they all have amethystine pinions. Next.
I guess. But only one of them can cast it around, so
right.
Wow.
there we are. Lore of the Death Mages, where the good stuff is, which is like Nagash or the Martarks.
Or Necromancer.
Or Necromancers, yes.
That's it. That's all who can cast these spells.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but quite a few good spells. Overwhelming Dread, casting value 5, 18-inch range, neg 1 to hit. Theoretically, in 3.0, when neg 1s to hit are capped, you'll have to hit 2 units if you double tap instead of being able to pile onto 1. But that's still a decent enough range that, like, there's probably going to be 2 enemy units. So giving multiple units neg 1 to hit, I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Fading Vigor, casting value 6, 18-inch range, -1 to attack. Assumingly the penalties on attacks aren't limited. We haven't heard anything about that. So if that's true, you can still -2 attack somebody, which that actually seems good, like super good, really, really good, because there are a lot of big multi-attacking units out there. Obviously to a minimum of 1. Spectral Grasp, terrain feature wholly within 18 inches. Have the move of any unit starting within 3 inches of that terrain. I don't hate that one at all. I think that's actually quite an interesting unit for gumming up the army. And then Decrepify, casting value 6, 18-inch range, single hero, -1 to wound, -1 to damage. I really like that. There's a lot of armies right now that rely on a single hero who's like trying to do a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah.
I would like Decrepify a lot better if it was a 24-inch range. I would feel a lot happier about it. I think it should be to be like used in the way it needs to be, but it's not bad. It'd be like my 3rd choice or 4th choice, but it's okay.
Yeah. I will say that all 3 of these good ones that you mentioned, I think probably all but Spectral Grasp from Lore of Death Mages all got nerfed as well. Overwhelming Dread used to be -1 to hit, -1 bravery. Fading Vigor used to be -1 attack, only roll 1d6 on a charge.
Yep.
Decrepify used to be a single hero or a monster. That one, notably, is not that much of a nerf, but you nerfed them all again. Like, what?
That being said, I think they are all still good and still have.
They're still solid, but really the only person who's probably casting these is Necromancer. But then again, no, he's not casting these because he's casting Dance Macabre. So
right.
It's tough. It's if you have Neffy or Manfred, you probably take one of these because they get 2 casts. So might be some good stuff, especially for Neffy with the debuffing.
Yeah.
Ryan Goss in the comments asked, no love for Soulpike in the Lore of the Vampires. No. Because it has a casting value of 6, pick an enemy unit within 18 inches until your next hero phase. If that unit makes a charge move, roll a number of dice equal to the charge roll for that unit. For each 4+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. The same unit cannot be affected by this spell more than once per turn. No, I don't have any love for that because oftentimes people but your average roll is a 7, okay, to charge, meaning that you get 3 mortal wounds out of it. So it's that's if they decide to charge, right? And it's them charging you. So it's a real delayed response. Compare that to the Cities of Sigmar one that it's every time the unit moves, everybody in there burns to death. Just takes a million mortal wounds in Hollowheart or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Very, very different spell there.
Right.
Both ironically I think might cast on the same number somehow. So there you go. That's weird. That seems wrong. At any rate, it's honestly the good spells here are actually largely on the War Scrolls, right?
Yeah.
So there are some really solid War Scroll spells, and since you don't have a huge number of multicasters, I don't care anyways. It's fine. Let me be honest with you. I wish that was how more books were written. If I to just. It sucks when you're kind of the book that is written, maybe quote unquote the right way. But I think the right way to write these books should be that the lore spells are kind of middling, but the War Scroll spells are actually interesting and valuable and good, and the real life of the scroll lives on the scroll, right? Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, I'm gonna go pee again while we keep moving. Go.
We got to get your bladder under control. All right. So, time to move on to units.
Yep.
28. 05. All right, let's talk about
we skipping battalions?
Oh yeah. We're not even talking battalions.
Yeah.
Because I'm just
enough.
at this point, they're very strong evidence they're just going away, mainly because they basically said as much in the preview show.
Yeah.
So I don't find any value in reviewing battalions.
That's fair.
We can swing back to it in a follow-up show when we're talking about if you're playing a narrative game, what battalions are fun to use in your narrative game, right?
Right.
So, there you We are seeing there's some love for Soul Pike in the
Good.
in
I
there.
almost,
So that's
I almost
nice.
mentioned it, but yeah.
Yeah, I just don't buy it because you have to pick this one unit, and like if I have a unit of 30 dudes, I could care less
Yeah.
about charging you. I'll charge you all day long, and
Sure.
happily accept the maybe 2 or 3 mortal wounds I take. Oh no, whatever am I gonna do? Like, whatever. You know, like just most units you need to stop because they're coming in like a hammer
Yeah.
aren't stopping because they take 3 mortal wounds. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
I will charge you with 6 buffed pigs all day and twice on Sunday with a Soul Pike on. That ain't gonna stop me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yep, okay, great. You kind of wounded a pig. Now it's time for the bacon train to just
Yeah.
unload, right?
Incidentally, playing that army a lot, definitely, yeah, pigs, pigs all the way. I've been trying out brutes. I mean, I see a role for each of them, but like, give me 18 pigs, cabbage, a couple war chanters, maybe weird knob. I'm good to go.
You're living
Yeah.
high on the hog. All right.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's talk about some more units here. All right. Nagash, the Lord of the Undead, Supreme Lord. 975 points.
Yeah.
He
Lot
does
of
a lot of
bones.
stuff. There's a lot of words written on that scroll over there. So many, I don't think anybody can actually see them.
I think he's
Yeah.
largely unchanged.
Yeah, I don't know of anything that's changed from OPR.
Yeah, he's
Just super expensive. Now, if you had him at a 2+ save and a sea of zombies, in theory, that maybe that point cost is justified, but it's all a wait and see thing.
Well, potentially your whole army, if you can, with him, cast Mystic Shield up to 8 times.
Well, yeah, that's a big thing is if the rumors of Mystic Shield being +1 save,
Yeah.
I throw out 8 Mystic Shields, everyone's at 2+ re-rolling ones. Ha
Right.
ha ha ha. Maybe
suddenly he's worth it. Yeah, I guess we'll
Yeah.
have to see.
we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
guess
as of right now, no, I don't think so.
I think like it would be very hard to point him if in fact in 3.0 he can unlimited Mystic Shield and Mystic Shield is +1 to save. If he can just run around and be like bling 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 bling, my entire army is +1 to save. It's gonna be like, whoa, that is a very different thing he has just done. I'm still not sure he's 975, but look, maybe they're gonna move all the god characters up and he's just the vanguard. Maybe he's just the tip of the spear on that, right? Like maybe in 3.0 Marathi's like 750 points and stuff like that. Like maybe that's what we're gonna see. I don't know. Archeon's the same price. Like if maybe Archeon goes up to like 950 or 975 or 980. Also, we should just address this now. Yes, there's a bunch of 5 points in this book. Clearly a harbinger of what's to come.
Yeah.
Why?
Nobody knows.
This was unneeded. I do not believe you are getting any more fine balance out of 5 points that you were out of 10. Like, unnecessary. Unnecessary. Stop this. Stop this right now.
Yeah.
They're not going to. I'm sure the books are all already printed. The Dominion box set's out there somewhere. We're going to see one. We're going to see Adam Troke go, what is this? Oh, it's a Dominion box set in like 3 days, right? And he's going to open it up, and, you know, like that point spread is just going to be fivers everywhere, and I am not excited about it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to figure out some positives to it, but yeah, it just seems like it's so much more likely to be a net negative, you know, just like the appearance of a meaningful change when, it's just nothing.
Yep.
Yeah, like eels go down 10 versus, you know, okay, now they're down 5 for, I don't know. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Yep.
We'll see.
At any rate, Nagash, and by the way, that's not a slam in any way on Adam. Like, Adam Troke is a super awesome guy. Let me be 100% clear on that. Adam and Eddie are both incredibly nice people and really, really good guys. So Adam has been nothing but the nicest of people to me when I've gotten to talk to him and stuff in person. So, and he genuinely loves his hobby. I just think it's funny when he's always like, "Oh, what is this? Oh, I've got this box!" Like it's a surprise. Like, yeah. Good on him though. I would do absolutely the same thing if I had one sitting there. If I had one Dominion box set right now, I'd hold it up right there. I don't. Okay. Manfred. Oh, Manny. I stand for Manfred. So, 380 points, bonus general in the Legion of Night, great buff abilities, tough and tricksy, very good command ability. What's not to love about Manfred von Karstein here? Anything?
Amazing spell.
I think he's overpointed, but other than that, like they brought the points down multiple times on these to come in line with still a bad scroll. They fixed the scrolls, and they just jacked the points up. He's not killing anything. He is truly he's a trickster, and he's got an awesome role. I just don't know if you can afford 380 points for somebody that's not killing anything more than a 10 unit of a 4+. So that's the question with him. It's a question with him.
He's okay on damage. I mean, like, he's not bad. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he does have his Beastie Boy, you know, Ashigaru or whatever is the name of his little homeboy is. Ashigaroth, sorry. You know, I mean, he's making 6 -2 rend, 2 damage attacks. They do hit on 4s, to be fair.
Well, I mean, potentially all of this is just +1, +1, +1 to hit, +1 wound. So, because it benefits the mounts too.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he's got a really, really good command ability that does hit himself. Like, this is a fantastic buff. Great area buff.
John, is this what it was last time? +1 hit, +1 wound? Old school Manfred?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Okay. Yeah, you just could never do it because you brought him in and he just got melted. So it was like, I don't want to do that.
All right.
And like his sword, he can pass out an attack buff. He can pass out a hit and wound buff. And most importantly, he can do the tricksy teleport. Like, this is such an important ability at the start of the combat phase, not just yours, the combat phase. If this model is within 3 inches of any enemy units, you can remove this model from the battlefield and set it up again anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches from all enemy units. Such a strong ability because he never fights what he doesn't want to fight.
Yep.
Right? Ever. Unless somebody charges him and has fight at the start of the phase. That's the only way you can catch him out. Right?
Yep. You can't leave objectives.
Yeah, you can't leave an objective because keep in mind, if he charges, okay, if he charges and then he rips himself out of combat and sets up 9 away, he can actually still then pile in 3.
Yep.
He'll grab it.
Right? So he's actually very, very tricky at moving himself around the board because he still has the I charge this round trigger sitting on him, allowing him to pile in later in the round.
Yeah.
Right? So he can really get around like a record. No, I love him. Oh, he also has the whole negate the first wound or mortal wound allocated to him in each phase, which is just a really good ability. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I stand for Manfred. I really do think he's solid.
Yeah. Little mini mortal wound bomb. Particularly if you've got Spell Portal. I mean, I don't know if you're going to take Spell Portal lists with this, but maybe. Wind of Death, cast melee 7, pick an enemy unit within 18 of the caster, visible, roll a dice for that enemy unit, and each other enemy unit within 6 on a 3-up, they'll take D3 mortals.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
it's
nice little
nice.
castle buster.
Yep. It is a little castle buster. I mean, I quite like that. Anything that splashes mortal wounds like that is good, especially in an army that doesn't have a lot of power projection. I actually think it can work really well in concert with his spell can work really well in concert with the Mortis engine. It actually gets him behind the line power projection.
Yeah. So, look at the range of the Mortis. I remember what that is. 12 maybe.
12 for its shooting attack, I think, and 12 for its buster for its reliquary bomb.
Gotcha.
Anyways, we'll get there. Okay. Chadakar the Beast. I refuse to read his proper name. 315 points. Good damage that also accelerates other unit. Bonus general in Virkos Dynasty. Brings free direwolves with him. Despite the fact he's in Virkos, him and Manfred get together. These two, look, you've seen The Predator, right? Okay? Both of these dudes are repping guns. This is Arnold, right? And I can't remember the actor's name, but you know what I'm talking about, meeting at the beginning of the movie and just right, like just showing them guns to each other. Love this guy.
Oh, Weathers. We got to fix
Carl
that.
Weathers, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yes, thank you. You probably got it before the chat did. Love Chattakar. Okay, so he the relevant things about him is obviously he always has built-in run and charge. That 8-inch move is a lie, right? He's actually somewhere between 9 and 14-inch move all the time, which is great. He has neg 1 to be hit all the time, not just in melee, but also against shooting. Fantastic. His Bloodslit Claws do mortal wounds if he rolls a 6 to hit. 2 mortal wounds, which is fantastic. His command ability is pretty solid. If he charged, usually at the start of the combat phase, if he charged, he adds 1 to the attack characteristic of melee weapons used by friendly Soulblight Gravelords, wholly within 18 inches of that nice big
finally
bubble.
an 18.
Generous bubble, which I like. And then Mustering Howl, yes, he can summon out direwolves once a game, wholly within 12 of him and 9 from enemy units, and it's a unit of 10 direwolves.
Freaking 10 of them.
Yeah,
he's 180 points for that scroll.
Right, exactly.
That's nuts.
Yeah, because you subtract their free 135 you get out of there.
Incredible.
And I have his damage table here against a 4-up save, with nothing but his own buff on himself. Like, I'm assuming he charged and used his command ability on himself, right? And nobody else is around. He averages 9.6 damage, which is good. Like, that's good damage against a 4-up save.
Absolutely, yeah.
For a single guy.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, awesome and fantastic. Love this guy.
Love him. Yep.
Beautiful model, solid rules, good in combat. You know, like, yes, more of this.
Yeah.
Where have you been all my life, Chattakar?
The only vampire lord, which by the way, vampire lord is a keyword in here, but it's never referenced anywhere in the book. But the only vampire lord that makes sense that he's not a caster. Like he's too beast mode, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
But there are others that aren't. So
right, like if they had slapped a spell on this guy, I would have been like, nah, get out of here. What is this? This doesn't belong. Okay.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So do love this guy. I think he's an absolute standout of the book. And again, he's one you could easily drop into some other lineages and do some fun stuff with. Like, I think this guy could be fun in Legion of Night or something, running around with Manny. I think he could be fun in Castelli, running around with Vorderai and Blood Knights and charging in with them and giving them bonus attacks and stuff. He can keep pace with them actually, which is nice.
Right.
So
that's when I said I was really high on this book. That's part of the thing that stood out the most is you talk a lot about modular design and linear design. I think it's a really fascinating combination of both. Like you have plenty of examples of modular, plenty of examples of A to B to C, but then also nice mixes and kind of. So yeah, I really like that about the book.
Yeah, he's a standout, no doubt. I think we all agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Neffy, the Mortarch of Blood. 365, decent self-healing, but fragile, but an incredible spell. I mean, you're taking Neffy for the spell, right? Yeah. Like, the rest of the scroll is basically ipsum lorem text. And then it's like, she has this spell. I shouldn't say it that way. Her spell and her command ability. That's what she is. She is her spell and her command ability delivery mechanism. I mean, she is also a double caster, which is nice. Right. But yes, her spell is Dark Mist. Casting value of 6. Pick one friendly Soulblight Gravelords unit wholly within 12. Ignore negative modifiers when making save rolls for attacks that target that unit. Incredible, especially with all the ways we've talked about to layer up defenses. So that's pretty great. Again, she could be one that slots into like a Castelli build to make your, that you're combining with like your 5-up Deathless minions and stuff, and she's picking the unit when you absolutely need to hold the line.
Yeah.
Right? Suddenly you've got guys running around on a 2-up or 3-up unrendable that also have a 5-up after save. Like, that unit is not shifting.
Yeah.
Right? And then finally, her command ability, of course, Twilight Allure. I mean, just super classic. Big giant bubble of neg 1 to hit. It is a rock solid command ability that has been good for a while and is still pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall solid. She's kind of spendy though when you're talking about like, well, I'm also going to need a Vampire Lord, a Zombie Dragon General, then her, then I probably want a couple more support heroes, and then suddenly you're like, oh gosh. She still dies. Like the weird thing is, even with those buffs, she still dies pretty quick.
Yeah, she's fragile. She's absolutely fragile.
So
what were they previously? 10 wounds, 11 wounds?
11 wounds and a 4+ save.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's tougher, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, objectively, 12 wounds and a 3-up save is tougher than 11 wounds and a 4-up save.
Yeah, but
like,
yeah.
I checked the math. It does work out, but not
Definitely.
incredibly tougher. And you're right, John. You'll chew up points so fast in this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm interested with list building. Yeah, in terms of, I mean, like the kind of the smooth brain. You open this book up, it seems like spam direwolves or spam zombies. Take one hero, call it goods. But I mean, I really doubt 3.0 is going to allow you to compete effectively that way, just in terms of, mission design, maybe other incentives, but especially I would think mission design. I mean, like, are they going to go back in terms of leaning into the relevance of heroes and monsters on missions? If anything, I think it'll be as, if not more, relevant. But
yeah, I don't know. Who knows? We'll see.
We'll see.
Belladama Volga, or Grandma, Poison Grandma, as I like to call her. 200 points, bonus general, only caster with a built-in bonus +1 to cast. She can wound shrug to direwolves. She has a very strong spell. She has a great command ability. My summary is Grandma has game.
200 points. Yeah, she's wild for 200.
I mean, John, where you living on Belladama?
Second best scroll in the whole book.
She's great, right? I mean,
she's amazing.
Good.
She's amazing. I mean, what she can do is, like, she single-handedly stops shooting. So what you do is turn 1, you throw out a spell portal. Turn 2, you chuck your wolf poison across anywhere on the battlefield. I chew up a couple of your archers. Now they're stuck in combat.
Ooh, that's a good play.
Nice. Now you can't shoot me with that unit of 40 archers.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yep. Nothing like turning sentinels into direwolves.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
Not great for them.
Yeah, that's an 18-inch range on that one. Oh, crap. Yeah, 37-inch threat range on that. Oh, I love it, John. That's amazing.
Yeah.
She's 200 points for all this. She's great. She's great, and she's very she's very hard to kill. You're throwing a 10 block of wolves around her anyway, and now it's a 3+ to shrug off those wounds. 20 wounds on a unit of 135 points direwolves. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah. She's tough because of her wound shrug. She's a double caster with a built-in bonus to cast. Actually a truly amazing spell. Like, I think Lycan Curse is the best spell in the book, right?
I mean, it's that or Van Hell's. I mean, it's whichever you want.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. Like, I like Van Hell's, but I've got to get my unit into position to do something with Van Hell's. Whereas with Lycan Curse, I can directly screw your unit over.
Right. That
like,
other one.
All I'm saying is it's in contention. It's in contention.
Her other one's amazing as well. I mean, again, smooth brain, big unit of skellies, Graveguard or zombies, exploding 6 is a hit. Can't go wrong with that. It's only on a cast on a 6. She gets +1. She's rerolling in Virkos, so that's going to go off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she has 2 great spells for a double caster. So, like, again, she's like, Grandma has game. I'm sorry. Like, she is a fantastic scroll. Like, this is what a vampire hero should look like, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Moses.
First looking at this felt like an old timer, just like thinking about scrolls at this range in particular, like your Lord Arcanum on Griff Charger, 200, 220, 240, 180 in that range. Particularly for the name version. I put this up there an all timer in terms of what all it's doing at that point value.
Yep. I love her.
Agreed. All right. Lukavai, the Mother of Nightmares. So 285 points, good mortal wound on the charge ability. She basically has an improved basic ogre charge, or halfway between the basic ogre charge and the Stonehorn charge, if you want to think of it that way. Where she rolls a number of dice equal to her charge, and every 5-up is mortal.
Yep.
She causes neg 1 to rend for enemy units within 3 inches of her. She has a fantastic command ability that I really truly love that you will not be able to use when you actually want to use it. Her spell is great, but it is casting value 8. Lukovai is the great story of like, she'd be good, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, she's just not. I mean, the points, like when I looked up points, her at 285, Vangorian Lord 280. You're talking my language there a little bit, and just not quite enough. You're going to take the normal one over her anyway, just because he can wield the artifacts command traits.
Yeah.
If you weren't going to take a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, -1 to red bubble is really nice. She's not super killy, but somewhat respectable. But the fact that you put this straight up negative on her scroll that just straight up makes her worse as the game goes on. Same with the unnamed one. It's just a bad play experience. I just feel so frustrated. I can't do the thing I want to do.
100%.
You know?
In the game I played, I used her, and the third and fourth round I wanted to use the command ability, and I was like, nope, I guess I get to run and charge instead. In the round where I'm 4 inches from the enemy. Great, that's what I needed.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if they swapped it, if early on you got to run and charge and later on you got to command ability, I get it. It's not thematic to their insatiable hunger or whatever the hell it is, but at least it would feel not so bad.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this is just a whiff of design. This should have been like Skaven rules, where it's like, you can either choose 2, X, or Y. I'd be fine with it if it was an option.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay if you only want to give me one of the 2. I can handle that. Right? Like, if my choice was in each phase, or, you know, at the start of each turn, you choose either she can run and charge this round, or she can use her command ability this round. Right? Is she going bestial or not? I'd be like, yeah, cool, okay, fine. Like, that probably doesn't need to be there at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's
that choice probably doesn't need to be there, period. But I'd be okay with it if it was actually a choice.
Right. I was gonna say it's a similar narrative between her and Drycha, and that's essentially Drycha has the choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that way before. Yeah. She seems too expensive at 285, particularly with that. I mean, that's difficult to point that kind of rule where you're not going to potentially get the benefit when you need it. And I don't know, that's a lot of points, it feels like, for 11 wounds, 3-up save, not necessarily doing that much damage.
Yeah, she's an average of about 5 damage, 4.5 to a 4-up save.
No.
Yeah. Now, she's swingy. I mean, if the D6, like, pops off,
Yeah.
right? Anybody with a D6 on their scroll, you could just get a turn where she accidentally does a ton of damage.
Right.
But, yeah.
Yeah, not really digging her.
Yeah. Okay, regular Vangorian Lord. We can just blow through him real quick. Because there's very similar, but again, same stuff. 280 points, so I mean,
you save 5.
Yeah, thanks. Does not have the mortal wounds on the charge for reasons, I guess. Apparently that's what 5 points buys me. I don't know. He does still have the -1 to rend ability. Again, he has the same stupid rule. He has a different command ability that is also fantastic, and I actually like their 2 different command abilities. Like, they actually work really well in concert. Okay. Like, if you can have if I could run these 2 out there and know I would have access to their command abilities, man, it's great. And the Vangorian Lord is so fantastic in an Avangori build because you actually have very few ways to heal your monsters.
Yeah.
Right? Almost all your healing is basically summonable units. Right? But no, he's got this really cool healing for your monsters.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, except you're probably not going to get to use the command ability in the rounds where you actually want to use it. So, thanks.
Yeah.
Like, again, just terrible. Yeah. I don't get it.
Yeah, he's a budget Lazda, but like I said, the main use that I've thought of is just that artifact equal wound characteristic and just have it as a sole operator to try to nab some objectives. Other than that, I'm not too sure. Yeah.
Yep.
I dig the model, actually. I think it's a pretty cool model.
I love this model. This is what made me want to get this army. I actually truly love the Vangorian Lord model, both versions of it.
Yeah.
full credit to Miniac for inspiring the sculptor in the vampire pose.
No kidding.
So yeah, I just they're that one bad design element away from being able to be used. It's just, this is the bad random where clearly a thing that I need to hang my hat on, I can't use. Right? Because I need to be able to heal my monsters in my monster mash build where I only have 7 models, where I only have like 80 wounds in my army. Right?
Right.
Healing does a lot. I mean, that's something we don't often think about. Like, one of the parts about healing is, what are you healing, right? When you were spending a command ability and getting 40 wounds, that's a crap ton of healing, right? If I'm spending a command point and getting a D6 in an 80 wound army, that's a lot different than restoring 40 wounds in a 200 wound army.
Sure.
Right?
Incidentally, yeah, spending a command point to roll a 1 on a D6 is pretty rough.
Feels great. Feels great.
We'd love to see a little bit more of the, I think 40K did this in the latest edition, like minimum 3 on a D6. And, you know, they put in a minimum that you can do. I'd like to see that a little bit more.
Yep. Okay. The question was, Mr. Chase said, does that mean that any and all Soulblight Gravelord units heal a D6 when they destroy a unit in the combat phase? Yeah, yes, everybody who does it would heal, which is again why it's great, right? But like, that's because you don't have to actually choose a single unit to heal, right? It's, the gating mechanism is already strong enough. Destroy a whole enemy unit, not slay a model, right? You have to kill a whole unit. So, anyways, all right, let's get into some smaller heroes. Kritza, the Rat Prince, 95 points. Simple hero with a great ability, fantastic for recursion, bonus general. One of my favorite heroes in the book. I love Kritza. Fight me.
Okay.
What does he do, Vince?
Yeah.
Live, exist, be a general, which theoretically might do something in the future.
Why can't he cast a spell?
Be a hero for things like to be a hero for things like projecting deathless minions and everything else, and in scenarios that care about heroes and give me bonus points for heroes, which there are a lot of reasons why you just want to have heroes that exist, and he is one that keeps coming back. That's why I love him.
I mean, not reliably, he doesn't.
Hey man, it's on 4-up. I get to roll every round. I'm taking a shot at it. I like recursive heroes.
How are you getting him killed turn 1?
Look, I'm just saying, when he dies, I get a shot at bringing him back. I like that he's this cheap. Okay.
Yeah.
I think he could actually be even a scotch cheaper. I think he should be 85 points, 80. Not 95 points, right?
Yeah.
Or 80.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna live in this world of 5s, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I dig him. He, like, just existing is actually a useful thing for a hero to do sometimes. That's like, there are multiple battle plans that you get lots of bonus points for just having a hero that exists, or you know, like. Yeah, in this army, heroes do a lot. In 3.0, generals might be, you know, quite important.
Right.
This guy is all of those things with a chance to keep living even if he's dead. Recursive heroes are generally good.
Right. So he's got the Vampire Lord keyword, like the generic Vampire Lord that can cast a spell, but he's somehow being named Vampire Lord is unable to do so. He does not have the abilities.
Before he became a vampire. He was just some guy who tried to get out of Wolfengarn by hiding in a rat cart.
Right. I mean, if he had a spell cast, if he moved 8, I mean, 6 is just like, you're killing me here. Like, it's such a cool model. Just make him interesting. Make me want to buy this thing. I did order one because I think he's so cool, but I'm just like, do something. Do something.
Again, I completely understand that my argument is he exists and keeps existing, and that's a good ability. I'm hanging my hat on that. I literally am.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I'm living here.
95, I'm taking Vampire Lord for 120. Is it one? No, I'm taking Necromancer for 120 8 days a week.
That's all fair. I like cheap heroes. And look, all I'm saying is in Slaanesh, I'd be paying 150 points for this. So, you know, there you go.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay.
He'd be great for Scorched Earth.
Yeah,
He holds one of your 4, and he dies, and then he comes back on one of your opponent's 4 and gives you a bonus.
What I'm saying. Like that. Like I really do think that that he is one of those heroes.
Yeah.
He is one of those heroes that like can do strange things in scenarios where the rules are. Now, if we get the new scenario pack and there's like no scenarios that care about heroes in GHB 2021,
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Lady Anika, 110 points. I have her here as a good pinning hero due to the feel no pain and the complete self heal, and she is a bonus general. Lady Anika, I actually think is also good. I have one small lament with her, which is I don't like that she has to be on the 60 by 35 small cav base. I wish she was just on if she was like a normal hero on a 32 or a 40 or something. I would actually like her a lot more, but I'm not going to hold that against her. So the Mask is classically one of the like my favorite heroes in Slaanesh. And the reason the Mask is so good is because she's a great pinning hero that runs out and can get into combat and just hold up a unit, dance around, and pin at the edge. Right?
Yeah. The Mask was high up on the S list in 2019.
Sure.
Just annoying. Just it's so annoying, so good.
Now,
what's the Mask move?
That's you're exactly where I was going to go. You have the foresight, John. Now the big difference here is the Mask moves 10. Okay, as opposed to Lady Anika who moves 6, right? Like what's missing from this scroll that would make her just an absolute win would be if she had run in charge.
Sure.
Okay. But I do think she's decent. But I like I said, I like her as a pinning hero to go out. I think that pinning heroes are an underused tactic. I think they are valuable. Her move is a little slow for her for that role though, which is a challenge. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
With her, it's like her story is that she is like the sanguine blur, that she sneaks in and wades her way in first and just decimates everything. Give her 10 attacks and the same profile, and you still question whether she's worth 110 points. Give me a vampire on foot that could just blend her reasonably.
Right.
Seriously,
2.37 damage is not doing it for you, huh?
No, it's like that's not the character that they describe her to be. There's nothing about her that's scary.
Sure.
It's just one of the coolest models in the entire range, and they just like give me an excuse to want to play my toys. You know?
Yeah.
I just don't want to play this toy. It's just going to make me sad.
Yeah, the copy paste of 4 attacks, 3 series, -1 D3, that was getting old in the book. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on with these. Yeah, the pinning notion, that's interesting. Yeah, playing a lot of Marathi Kane, who for obvious reasons is an ultimate pinner.
Sure.
I can see a little bit of that. Yeah, in the right list. Like again, maybe Cogs, Legion of Night, or Legion of Night. Ambusher, Deep Strike.
Well, she's Virko, so she's not going to gain the lead.
Oh, crap. That's right. She is Virkos. Okay. Throw that out.
Yeah. It's a problem.
Yeah.
There's that keyword bingo biting you. That's what I mentioned.
Yeah.
Right. But no, I mean, I do think that, nonetheless, I think she could have a use. I would need to, like, play it to really feel it to see if I could get the pinning going with her to whether it would be valuable. But I think she could have a use.
I have a really hard time seeing her making the cut and list, but
I also don't disagree with that. Okay. Your Vampire Lord, your stock standard 140 point good all around hero with a solid command ability. Like, let's face it, you take the Vampire Lord, 5 wounds, 3 up save, blah blah blah, self heals through the hunger, whatever. But I mean, you take the Vampire Lord for Crimson Feast, right? It's
Yep.
You pick a unit, they get +1 attacks.
Summonable
until
unit.
Your next hero phase. Yes, I'm sorry, summonable unit. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Thank you. But that's why you take this, right? So if you're trying to buff your Skellies or your Zombos or whatever, whatever happens to be summonable you're trying to buff, that's why you took it. That's why they exist. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Solid.
So how many attacks should this be?
It's overpointed. I'll say that. She isn't worth 140. That's a problem.
Yeah. It's not terrible. when you're throwing out on 40 zombies. Literally anything else. Maybe if you're really making Graveguard work as well. Otherwise it's not worth it.
But in terms of actually turning this into, I mean, you did a show, Vince, about how we have sort of an endemic issue in the game where there's not that many foot heroes that actually beat sticks. And I mean, Vampire Lords were always pretty good beat sticks in Warhammer Fantasy.
Sure.
So what needs to be done to make that, is it, I would think 6 attacks minimum, but even then you're not putting out that much damage unless you get some buffs on.
We just have a completely wrong way we think about foot heroes in this game. Like melee foot heroes just don't have the right profiles. They're replacing a unit and they just don't do anything close to what a unit would do.
Right.
They just don't. Right? Because they just don't absorb generally the buffs in the same way, they don't do the damage in the same way, they don't hold the footprint. Like they just it's a problem. Like the melee profile, the sort of stock melee profile that ends up on a lot of like melee oriented heroes in this game is just too low.
Yeah.
It should just be higher.
Even like +2 attack, 6 attacks, you're still only 3.5 damage at a 4-up save.
Sure.
5-up save, you're at 4.4 damage with 6 attacks. I mean, I don't know. That just, there's a pretty big disconnect in my brain in terms of what I would expect a Vampire Lord to do in combat.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, if you put this to 10 attacks, you're probably not investing CP and spells to buff them, right? Because they're still not doing that much.
They just don't take buffs the same as a unit, right? Of
no.
30 dudes.
But, if you do get them in with, sneak them around the side as the unit he's putting his command ability on to snap a couple guys off, suddenly it's not completely negligible. Again, at 10 attacks, this is not broken at 140 points. It's not even up another level in the sea. It's just it just makes him feel more cool. But
absolutely.
All right. Excuse me. Okay. The Necromancer, 125 points. So the spell, right? That's why this guy exists. I mean, it's the spell.
Right.
I mean, do we need to explain why Van Hell's Dance Macabre is such a good spell? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. You pick a summonable Gravelords unit until your next hero phase. If that unit has fought only once in the combat phase, and it's your turn to pick a unit to fight, that unit can be picked to fight for a second time.
I will say that both Vampire Lord and Necromancer were buffed. Both of the command ability of Vampire Lord and the spell Dance Macabre was only in this combat phase. Now it's until your next hero phase.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
It's just a big deal.
Yeah.
Because then it sticks through the double turn, right? Which is nice. Yeah.
Right.
And he shrugs off on a 3+ now to zombies. It used to be a 4+, so a little bit more survivable there.
A little bit more survivable. I mean, he is a little more survivable, which is good. Better shrug. And I mean, his spell is an all-time banger. It would be the other one that would be in contention for best spell in the book.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah. For sure.
He remains ever solid. And plus, what a wonderful generic concept. Necromancer, right? Just a side note, you can whatever fig you want, man. If it fits on a 32, this is you're in like Flynn on this guy. You can just go nuts.
Yeah.
So there's a million models that'll work for Necromancer.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. Velazda, as we like to call him, or the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. Oh, and don't worry, John Byer, we're going to talk about that when we get to skeletons.
Oh gosh, the most useless waste of time ever. Please use your amazing buff, the best thing that your army can do to bring back your stupid skeletons that can't kill anything or do anything anyway.
We'll get there.
What a waste.
All right. Velazda, 435 points, still the go-to hammer hero, though he lost the self-heal. Very strong when he receives the named hero buffs.
And he lost his command ability. So there's another nerf.
And I have written, yes, he did. And I have written down here Double Dragon because something like the combination of he and Vorderai is a pretty solid thing where with the buffs going off and Vorderai being able to make him fight in hero phase, which is pretty nice if they're kind of hanging out together.
Right.
or or him and Manfred, getting bonus attacks from Manny, or him and Radikar, or like.
I know, it's just a book of power pairs or
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Little hero pairings. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the big story here is his lance, which got a significant buff. So his death lance is 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, neg 1, 2 damage. On the charge, it becomes 3s and 3s, neg 2, 4 big damage. Heyo. And as we mentioned earlier, there's lots of ways to buff the Velocita, the plus D3 attacks and all sorts of stuff like that. So,
yeah,
he's solid. Can take your artifacts and command traits. It's really for most of them that are really combat focused who you want taking them. Again, he's just a little bit. I don't know. I don't think he's pointed too high, but he's not by much. Maybe not by much.
He's a little pointed too high because of the lack of the command ability and the self-heal. Now, again, I don't know if all these new command ability rumors are true for 3.0, right? I'm not sure it'll matter.
Yeah.
Like, what I mean that is, like, if I'm throwing +1 to save on myself or +1 to hit or whatever other silly things we can do with command abilities, right? Or whatever. Yeah. Then I don't know that I care that much. That's like, I'm probably happy enough to put him on 2s and 3s or something like that or whatever, or put him on a 2-up save. Like, I'm feeling like that's probably pretty good stuff,
Yeah.
Yep. But to me, the actual thing that makes him pointed just slightly too high is the fact that he lost the self-heal, the once-a-game self-heal.
And I can tell you from running that guy more times than I can count, that is massive.
Yeah.
On command.
Yet another thing you can sometimes roll a 1 on.
Right.
But I mean, this dude can do work. He hits like a truck, especially when buffed, which there are many buffs he will take and that are worth putting on him.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I had one that was not charging take out about 4 pigs on Saturday night.
Sure.
Just rolling a little above average.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and CW said pity costs a 5th of your army. This is the type of hero that should cost a 5th of your army. Like, I'm down for this guy costing a 5th of your army. I think the little too high is like he should be somewhere around 400 or 410 or something like that. 435 feels too high. But yeah, I mean, I would be happy in most armies taking this guy for 400 points. He feels like a 400 point hero, right? That's basically what I feel like he can accomplish, especially in context.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you don't have a way to burn him down with mortal wounds, I don't know. The durability of this army to me is pretty scary. With some of these lists that you can do.
Sure.
3-ups going to 2-ups, potentially again with Mystic Shield, depending on how that plays out, and the artifact +1 save. Yeah, Blood Knights quite durable.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll say is, we haven't talked much about the hunger, right? The fact that like all these vampires have the hunger, where in the combat phase, if they slay anything, they get to heal D3. But that's actually my favorite type of healing. I like it a lot more than hero phase healing, because like you can obviously you can get it twice per battle round, right?
Sure.
And it really does matter depending on what you're fighting. I will say that like one of the things I very much leaned into on my keepers was always just rolling that D3 at the end of every combat, just keeping them going a little bit, pushing them back up the chart just a little bit, right? Where if somebody has an off round and you get back ahead, you get up a little bit. That I think makes a big difference. Prince Vorderai. 455 points. Very strong hammer. Monstrous modular piece that can still benefit from synergies. He is Castelli, so he can gain the faction buffs in Castelli, namely all of the vampire Might of the Crimson Keep stuff. He is also a bonus general there. He's the other half of Double Dragon. Decent self-healing. Average of 11.44 damage against a 4-up save, basically unbuffed. That is just with his own spell on him of Quick Blood. Great self-buffing spell. Command ability that's cool when he's in Double Dragon formation. Yeah, he's pretty strong, man. He's rend 4 damage lance. That ain't too shabby.
He's scary.
Yeah.
He is scary. The only kind of bummer is, again, this is kind of going back to points, is that Fist of Nagash, the command ability, while it can be very strong, it's very hard to run a list that you can commit to 400 plus units in and still be a balanced enough list.
And have them be right next to each other.
Have them be right next to each other to really take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, but I mean, it's a nitpick. Even
That's
if that
why, yeah.
doesn't exist, he's still a solid scroll.
Sure, I will say he can do something like make Chadakar fight in the hero phase, which is then a little bit cheaper option there. So
Listen, I haven't looked at mini lists yet, but I mean, it was my first exposure to that list on Saturday. But I was just really impressed by the fact he had 2x3 Vargeist, 10 Blood Knights, so you do 2x5, Vordry and a Zombie Dragon, and he still had 60 bodies. 40 zombies and 20 skellies. Like, to me, that's a really strong list in terms of playing competitive AOS.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hammers. It's a lot of damage, good durability. I mean, he didn't have a necromancer, he's making some sacrifices, but yeah. So anyway, just kind of that first impression, I was impressed at how much you could put into a list with even with having those 2 dragons.
Yep. Yeah. And most importantly, he does still carry around his Chalice of Blood, right? So he does have the D6 hero phase heal still.
He gets it.
He does indeed. I mean, Vordry he's great.
And he has the hunger too.
Yes, he does. I say Morderai to Vorderai. I'm in. I'm in for him. Okay. Yeah, like this guy's a hammer most armies would be pretty envious of. There are armies that just don't actually have this hammer. There are armies with stronger hammers. That is also true. But there are armies that just don't have a hammer like him. The White King.
We just scroll past these. They're just...
He's 115 on foot, 130 on the seed. He's Death Rattle, which actually they can do that. They have their own little version of the heal now, so there you go. That's something. His command ability actually doesn't function right now, so that's fun.
Right.
And unless he uses it on himself when he's standing next to Vorderai, I guess.
That would be hilarious.
I think that his command ability will be better in 3.0 because I assume if we're getting like a +1 to hit thing, then I'm just assuming here now. Like this is playing some 5th dimensional chess, but I'm assuming that means the reroll ones goes away. Okay, like I'm going to assume there's not 2 command abilities that do the same thing.
Right.
So if that's the case, then actually rerolling ones becomes really valuable.
Yeah.
Right? Because then you don't have a generic way to get that in this book otherwise. And so suddenly you can put your Graveguard unit at like +1 to hit and rerolling ones, and suddenly they become super choppy because they're 2-up rerolling ones.
Yeah.
Right. So and yes, as pointed out, he does make Graveguard battle line. That's also true. I didn't mention that, but yes, that is true.
Which doesn't probably really matter, to be honest, because you still need to screen those Graveguard. If anything blows briskly on them, they're all dead. So
sure. Yeah, absolutely. You still want to have somebody out in front of them. Yes, you're not just like 40 Graveguard, come get it, because somebody will be like, okay.
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah, sure. I would love to pick up your most valuable unit without you striking back. That sounds very nice.
Yes.
All right. Oh, yeah. So I was playing somebody who was playing Doc, and they left their 10 snakes completely unscreened. There's 10 bow snakes, like, completely unscreened. And I was like, well, I guess you lose that unit. Because I will sacrifice a lot to get rid of 10 bow snakes.
Yeah. On average, folks, you got to have, like, 2x9 Shadow Stalkers, some witches.
Oh, you got to have something out in front, yeah.
You need, like, a lot of Doc, I think 4 or 5 screens in a Doc list, in my opinion.
Sure. All right, the Coven Throne. 310 points. Does have a great command ability and a great spell, but I just think it's too fragile for its cost.
Probably best command ability in the whole book, sans Nagash.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm not paying 300+ points for a command ability. That's literally what you're doing here. It's just bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, so just to tactical insight. You can use this command ability at the start of your hero phase if you do pick one friendly SBG unit wholly within 12 of this model. Until your next hero phase, add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks made by that unit, and 1 to save rolls for attacks that target that unit. The same unit cannot benefit from this command ability more than once per phase. I mean, that is an incredible command ability, right? +1 to hit, +1 to wound, +1 to save. Just like everything that makes you good at doing what you want to do in this game. And Shudder, I think, is actually like a crazy good spell, by the way.
Yeah, if you're, I really like the idea of messing with that. I've not really played much with it in the past, but I want to do it. But it's just like, gosh, it's just so expensive.
Ultimately, I think at 310, like this, I mean, this thing is realistically, 12 wounds on a 4-up save with a 6-up after save.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Right? And it's 0 damage output.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a feather. It does basically 0 damage.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, this is a bait. I mean, what this is me saying, oh, I can Coven Throne and I can Neferata and I can make my unit of Blood Knights 2 to hit, 2 to wound, 2 save, immune to rend. Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at all I can do. Well, great. You know what you just did? You just spent 800 points to do one thing.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you can make that thing that cool, because the rest of the army that you are now is completely crippled is just not going to make it happen. So it's cool. If it was 210, maybe we're talking.
Yeah, there's probably a world in the 200s where this is feasible, right? Like, this is one of those interesting cases where the scroll is good, right? Like the meat here is good.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be good in combat. I don't care about that. That's not why I would take this thing, right? But then it needs to be pointed appropriately for that, right? Which is considerably cheaper than where it's at right now, right?
Yeah.
What the base size of this thing is? I'm thinking about Cheddar and
chariot base, like the 120 chariot base.
Thinking about in terms of sort of blocking, by terrain, cutting off.
Yeah, I mean that's the play, right? Like ideally, what you want to do is you want to split around terrain where they buff somebody, then they run off around one side of terrain. The Coven Throne goes around the other side, shutters the unit so they're stuck in while your hammer's over there hammering them on the other side.
Yeah, right?
And that's like a great play. But again, boy, does stuff have to go right.
Yep.
So.
And if it doesn't go right, the thing that you meant to shutter just comes around and murders your Coven Throne.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, corpse carts. I just have both on the same page. 80 points. They are Deadwalkers. So, like, for things that mention Deadwalkers but aren't required to summonable Deadwalkers, keep in mind they qualify, i.e. the 3-inch movement thing we talked about earlier. The choice here is really between neg 1 to wound rolls for enemy within 9 or +1 to cast.
Yeah.
Right?
But both great.
Both great.
Amazing. Both darn near auto include. Both in an amazing battalion, which is just sad that might go away. And we finally get a really, really awesome one. I think the -1 to wound bubble is just like they have to commit a ton of resources early in the game to kill this 80-point thing.
Right.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that.
Such a good anti-alpha.
Yep.
Or just anti. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah.
Like I really, really like both of these. Is my honest answer. I don't know that you'd like. I think you probably just have 2 of them rolling around. Is my honest answer. They're cheap enough.
Yep. Right. What are they? 80 something.
80 points. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they're great.
My plan is to throw the +1 to cast one near Belladonna, so I make sure I get my Umbral Spell Portal and my Lycan Curse off, and the other one will have the -1 to wound.
Yep.
So
yeah, kind of sitting up toward the front of the line. It's just like corpse carts is good. They is good.
Yeah.
Like I just like
I don't care that it's a 6-up save with 6 wounds. The fact that you have to put crap into it. I don't want to try to have to kill this dumb thing.
Right.
I want to focus on other things.
Right.
Yeah.
Like again, if they're shooting my corpse carts, I'm like, yeah, man, go ahead.
Sure.
Like have a great time.
It's all you. It's all you.
These things are so cheap. You just roll them off the line, so it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, really good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, nothing more to say except they should find a home in many competitive lists. They are super strong in either incarnation.
Yeah.
Okay. Deadwalker zombies. Hey, buddies.
4 hours in, we finally got to it.
We got there.
We're here. We're here. 115 points. They can be taken in 20 or 40. They are battle line if, and I have a note here that says, sorry, Smorgan, because Sam Morgan out of Australia is the last human being on the planet, as far as I know, running mixed death, who refuses to pick a single death army. He just keeps using mixed death. And he always used zombies as his battle line. So no more.
Right.
At any rate, like this unit is so much better than it has any business to be. It's not the end all be all that people have made it out to be, but it is pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
because it effectively has run in charge and retreat in charge just built into it due to the 6-inch pile-in loophole.
Stupid.
And for some reason, it does quite a lot of mortal wounds in combat and can recur itself pretty well.
Yeah.
A very scary unit to be under the effect of Van Hells. A very scary unit to be the recipient of any of the multitude of +1 attack buffs that we have talked about. The 6-inch pile-in combined with Van Hells is so horrifying for getting the entire unit of 40 into combat, since they can fight in 2 ranks, right?
Mm-hmm.
You run, you jump forward 6, they swoop around, right, or whatever, and then they go again. You know, like, seems good. And they're just like, they have pulled an outrageous, like they've flooded forward 12 inches almost on that, right? I mean, obviously, blah blah blah, you know, closest units, yada yada yada. But you get what I'm saying, right? On that, that forward. Yeah,
and they just blanket everything. Like on that second pile-in, they've probably killed most of the first unit if you had an attack or 2 extra on it, and then they just 6-inch again, and now your army is bubble wrapped with my 1 unit. And I know that there's the talk about, can they go over unit size with this? Rules is written right now. It's not a rule in Age of Sigmar in the core rules, so they can. Will they FAQ that? They did exactly that with Poxwalkers in 40k. But will they be able to, if I mean, it's not really the make or break with this thing. If they just still stay capped at 40, that's fine. But if they don't do it, it's not that unlikely of scenarios that your 40 turns into 90 and you just have wrapped you've tagged their entire army on turn 2 and the game's over right there. But they're just, honestly, if this unit isn't in the book, this book is not in the fat middle. This single unit is what makes them able to compete at a level that is not, like, there's just not enough damage in this book, and they have the most important stat in the entire game of Age of Sigmar, and that is wounds. They have wounds, and they can mortal wound down to 6. I mean, that's pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, big. I don't know if I fully agree with that or not, but I will say that, like, they're lifting a lot. I'll definitely give you that. Like, I'll come at least 70% of that journey with you, John. I'll say that. And they, you know, a lot of times what defines a book's strength is often, do they have a strong battle line unit that they can rely on that's actually functional?
Yes.
Right, where you want to take it. I mean, Seraphon have a lot of strengths, but certainly counted amongst them are the strength of skinks.
Yeah.
Right, and what skinks can accomplish. We mentioned, you know, Ironjaws and pigs. Doc and its preeminence on what just basic witch elves could do.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when you have a battle line unit that can be taken in large numbers and actually accomplish something, right? Like, have a clearly defined role that allows you to do that, I think it really does largely define the army. And I think that Deadwalker zombies do that, especially if you get to that magic 3 attacks per zombie. That's sort of the number you're aiming for there, right? In some combination, whether through the Vampire Lord or Chattakar or, you know, the command traits or whatever, right? Like, there's multiple different ways you could get there. But I think if you get to that magic number, I mean, these guys truly go ham.
Yep.
Because that's where the math becomes really stupid on the number of mortal wounds they do, right? That's where you get into the, like, 20 mortal wound area being dealt on average into the enemy per pile-in, where suddenly they're just exploding units.
I guess one question is, how reliably can you deliver them? Like, I would tend to see them, you're going to need to screen them so that someone can't just put the example of pigs to blow up 40 immediately.
Sure.
Because a lot of things could blow up 40 with no save, or maybe they've got a 5-up save somehow, or 6-up save somehow. So yeah, like, how are these actually going to be played in a game? And we've got ways to potentially deep strike them. We've got grave sites. You know, I think there's another good example potentially of, I was going to say maybe why you don't want to let Soulblight go first, because maybe you're, like, able to do a screen and then 40 zombies behind that screen and they're hanging out by an objective.
Yeah, I'll tell you my honest answer. I like, so they're 230 for a full pack, right?
Yeah.
That's the numbers.
230 for 40 wounds is bananas.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, BANANAS. And my honest answer is, I don't know, man. Like, let's say you're running them in Legion of Night, and you got the corpse cart behind him that actually gives them +1 to save.
Yep.
I'd probably just stick 40 out there and go, yeah, take your swing. Take your swing. My stupid zombies are now somehow magically on like a 5-up save. Again, could change if saves bonuses are capped, but you know, at that as it stands right now, that's what would happen.
Presumably the best it's going to be a 6-up.
Sure.
All appearances. Yep.
Yep. And you know, I'm like, okay, come get some for this one unit, and I have other units ready to just jump on you. Like, again, I'm not sure that's not great bait to bring somebody in, because I could afford in a lot of armies 3 units of 40 of these.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, that's a good point, because they're so cheap. You don't necessarily care if they get blown up because you've got other hammers, you've got other pieces to like counterattack.
If you come at me and miss because I've got the -1 wound aura up or whatever, right? Anything that's getting in the way of your efficacy.
Yeah.
And that unit lives. Okay, well, now you're dead. And I can just retreat that weak unit out of there and then still charge something else.
That's what I was getting, like, I mean, spoiler, like, I said, I think this book is fat middle, but I think this book might be more competitive than what I've been hearing maybe in this conversation or in general in the community so far. Like, initially I put this book at like 3-2 pushing 4-1, and I'm not sure if it's not 4-1 pushing 5-0. Or, like, again, starting to look at some of these lists and what you can actually do, and like imagining how the games would be played. I don't know. They have some counters.
Yeah, I always peg a percentage because I like to just, you know, take a big swing, right?
Yeah.
And my argument would be it's a 53%. That's where I'm pinning the number.
Okay. All right. I guess we can get into that a little bit more later as we close out. But yeah,
sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, in terms of zombies, they're just so damn cheap, and you have to deal with them.
Yep.
Like, one way or another.
Sure. I mean, that's just it. Like, so again, I think you could screen them. You can always throw some direwolves in the front or whatever. Like, sure. Absolutely. Like, I think my point is, I think there's multiple ways to play it. They're a solid unit that will like achieve what they want to do. Right. So yeah. Okay. Death Rattle Skeletons, 85 points in 10 or up to 30. Not the melee monsters they used to be, but can be a very hard unit to shift. They are the Necromancer's best friend. I have written here, I think skeletons are cool. The Necromancer is best friends with the zombie, but the skeleton wants to be best friends with the Necromancer. That's how that works.
I agree with that.
You see how the triangle works now? Like, the Necromancer says, no, you're not worth my buff. I want that on zombies. But the skeletons are like, come on, buddy.
Why do they just take a bunch of crap off the war scroll? Why would they do that? It's just like, nah, anything that you were good at, you don't get to do that anymore. I'm like,
can I just real quick tell you my absolute favorite thing about this unit? Like, my favorite thing in maybe the history of Warhammer. Okay. And that is that Death Rattle Skeletons hit on 3s.
Yeah.
And in the game right now, as it exists, Stormcast units hit on 4s.
Don't say it. Yep. Oh, it's terrible.
Behold the melee prowess of Sigmar's chosen.
Oh my god.
Anyways. Yeah. I mean, look, okay.
We gotta explain the Van Hels thing.
Yeah. So let's explain why I think these guys are decent. One, they're cheap enough. They have an okay save. They can be okay buffed. Like, they're always going to be a middling unit. I don't disagree. Like, it's hard to hold these guys up to zombies and go, yeah, definitely skeletons.
Yeah.
Okay. Not trying to make that argument. But their skeletal legion thing is actually quite interesting. So when you pick this unit to fight, roll a dice for each model in this unit that was slain in that phase. On a 4+, you can return that model to this unit. Okay. So in other words, if when you fight, you've lost models during that phase, you roll a grip of die and half of the people who died come back. Yeah? That's the
Yep.
And the key being, if somebody punches into you and then the skeletal unit has Van Hells on it, then they'll actually recur 75% of what they lost. But what I like about it is that you can then play this game where you then recur models deeper into the combat around them. Okay?
Yeah.
So as you fight them twice, which admittedly you're not going to do a huge amount of damage out of this unit, right? I don't disagree with that. They're 3s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage. Yes, they could take some of the attack buffs, but even with those, they're still not going to do much damage. Okay? They're just not. And but the fact that I can then swamp around onto an objective is how I would use them with Van Hells.
Well, you
Like,
can't
push deep.
You can't put a model further than a new model has to be within 1 inch of a model that was in the unit at the start of the phase. You can't.
Oh yeah.
You can't string them anymore.
Right.
But you could do it kind of, but not very much.
Yeah, I mean, you're piling, right? And then you're
Sure.
then you're dropping, and then you're piling, right?
Sure.
Like, look, I don't disagree with you that they're not as good as zombies. Okay, I just don't.
I just wish they had a different role. That's my only thing. It's just like I don't want them to be pretty similar. There's just one is way better than the other, and that's just a bummer. Yeah, that's it.
So what are they? What would you want them to do? What are they not?
I don't. I would have been fine if they would have not changed the old scroll whatsoever, and just let me that unit actually buffed could do some really cool things too, and it could make the Death Rattle builds suddenly have more potential. It just gives me more options in the list, rather than just saying, well, just straight up now, this whole side of the book isn't probably going to be usable. But yeah, just capped at 1 attack and 5+ save. It might as well be 6, which means it might as well be nothing. Like they're just going to die.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
and thank you, John Byer corrected me.
Yeah.
John's absolutely right. When you Van Hells them, you get to roll for all the slain models twice, so you actually recur more than 75%. Thank you,
Yeah.
John. I did know that I just got the math wrong, because you're like, let's say 10 died, you roll, you get 5 back. The second when you Van Hells again, you still roll 10 dice.
Yeah, but you still roll for Battle Shock, however many die total. So
100%. Yeah, also true. Also very true.
They're not terrible. They're not terrible, but it just stinks that I don't find any line where they're better than zombies.
Yeah, what these guys needed to be is more anvil-y. Like, if zombies were going to be hammery, right, which I'm fine with. Like, I actually like when you have like one battle line that's a pretty clearly defined hammer and one battle line that's a pretty clearly defined anvil. Like, that's actually a really nice makeup for a book, right? So my world would have been bring these guys to like a 4-up save with their shields and their armor, right? I think that would have been a great world to live in. Is my honest answer. Then their like lack of melee power I don't really care about, because they're just because they're there to just take the punch and then recur, right, and swamp people.
Yeah. And
I think the difference between a 5-up save and a 4-up save in this game is pretty big. It's pretty big in what it does.
You mentioned Battle Shock. That's actually one thing I didn't see a lot in this book is immunity to Battle Shock.
No, I mean, you're just relying on a lot of Bravery 10, right? Like, that's open. That carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Okay. Dire Wolves, 135 points, now in units of 10 minimum. That's a big old difference. Of 30 max. Mostly faster chaff unless combined into certain subfactions with certain leaders. If given the right bonuses and charge, can punch above their weight. Fine enough to me. They're just they're chaff. That's what their life is. That's what they're for. I don't see it being right to, like, if I didn't believe in investing in skeletons, I really don't believe in investing in dire wolves.
Yeah, I definitely will be using 1-2 units of 10 of these plus the free ones from Radikar. The flexibility that they offer is speed, and being a better screen. I'm never trying to make them kill anything. I don't care about that.
Right.
But they actually got a decrease in points too, 135 for 20 wounds.
Yeah, that's a lot of efficiency. 20 wounds, 135 points. Pretty wild.
But solid is what I call them.
Yeah, I think these guys, like I said, they're great mobile chaff, right?
Yep.
Which, by the way, that's a very useful role.
Very useful.
Yep.
Because they can kind of run around and be where they need to be and be in the way. And like you said, 135 points for 20 wounds is like That's a crap ton of wounds for 135 points. That's like
Yeah,
that's a
How good-
pretty good ratio you're pulling there.
exactly. Yeah, where they are compared to Feldbats. Yeah, we'll get to Feldbats, but yeah, wasn't quite seeing the Feldbats compared to Direwolves.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of a similar role. Yeah, 4-inch difference in move, but yeah, I don't know. It feels like you could probably get what you need done with Direwolves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like direwolves, I think are aces for their role. Don't try to make them kill things. Don't try to like.
Yeah.
The unit has a role. It's quite good at that role. I think 2 units of them or something in an army is fantastic as that. And I agree. You know, Ratty Summon just gives you a lot of good mobile stuff. Objective grabbers, chaff. Like, yep, fantastic.
Yeah.
What you want. Graveguard, 140 points, 10 to 30. I hope yours have great weapons because that's how they need to be built. They are hammers, especially when buffed. I mean, with the right buffs, these guys, like, downside, 4-inch move. We can't look past it. They're slow. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Period. But they are summonable. You can pop them up places. You can, do other things or whatever. You could ambush with them. You could do whatever. There are things. There are things.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
They do still have their musician rule that says, they always charge at least 6, which is nice. Right? And you can re-roll your Deathless Minion rolls of 1, which I guess is like something because they're standard bearer. It's something.
Sure.
It's not nothing. Yeah, I mean, 2 attacks on 3s and 4s, neg 1, 2 damage. Stop reading there. That's the point of this. When these guys get that same +2 attacks, whoo!
Yeah.
Yep.
It's time to do work, son.
Yeah. Yeah. The name of the game is take off the Graveguard before they instigate combat, please.
Yes.
But if you do that, you will not have a hard time mowing them down. So it's a great piece that rewards you for playing the game strategically. So yeah, them being buffed to 2 damage on the great weapon is great.
Yeah.
It's really good, and the fact that their mortal wound trigger is an in addition trigger, right?
Yeah.
So not only are you getting the 2 damage, but you're also getting the bonus mortal wound on top. Like, I mean, Graveguard are a fantastic hammer.
Yeah.
It's fascinating that they have 2 of these kinds of like mainline units that actually become really good hammers and absorb buffs really well, right?
Yep.
Ironically, the zombies are a lot faster.
Right.
All right.
Somehow that's true.
And why didn't they just give us new Graveguard sculpts instead of new skeleton sculpts? I want those to be new.
I love that the Graveguard
tiny.
is still the old Graveguard. It's so funny.
They're just so
There's
tiny.
little
and
babies
wimpy.
walking around. These old killer
Yeah.
babies.
Yeah.
Okay. Vargeists, 155 points, 3 to 9, solid damage but fragile. Null deploy option gives real value. They are vampire, which matters for like Calesti, for getting Castellai, however you want to say it. I don't know. For getting the like vampire. I'm a vampire and I killed a unit, so I get things. Ability. The might of the Crimson Keep. Yeah, I really like Vargeist. I really like things that can null deploy. I think they always have value. The fact that when you can set a unit up anywhere on the battlefield, like these don't have the ambush restriction, they can just be set up somewhere.
Right.
Their attack profile is decent enough. 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, neg 1, 2 damage. Again, they could go to 3 if they happen to be in range of the might of the Crimson Keep. Slam the windmill button to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have built-in double taps on 6. Like, I like Vargeist. I'm a fan. They're fast, but they can null deploy. They're good. I just think they're a versatile unit that can do some good stuff. Like, 2 packs of 3 feel like a great inclusion in an army if you can fit it in.
Yep.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, I think it's perfect war scroll, essentially. Yeah, they nailed this one. Yeah, 10 attacks in a unit of 3, 155 points, 3 threes minus 1, 2 damage. That takes buffs amazingly. Yep, incredible.
Yeah, this is how stuff should be written. Like, with interesting options in how you want to play it, right?
Yep.
Blood Knights. 195 points, 5 to 15. I don't know why that says anything other than 5. You shouldn't take them anything more than 5. Stop taking them anything more than 5. Good damage can be great with buffs. Good survivability can be great with buffs. Riders of Ruin is currently a retreat, but that might change. Yeah, they're solid.
Yep.
They're solid. They're not a hammer. They're actually more defensive than they are offensive.
Sure.
Buffs. I'd say with buffs, they can be hammer.
I mean,
Yeah, I
Like-
mean, 3 attacks, 3s, neg 1 damage, or 2 damage on the charge, right? Losing the, I don't know if like having the D3 damage was like the biggest thing. They have their rend all the time now, but they lost the D3, which averaged 2 anyways, right?
Right.
You're right that like they have to have buffs
Yeah.
to
Oh,
be a hammer, right?
Absolutely.
That's why I just rated their damage as good. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But buffed appropriately, they can become a hammer. So yes.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's the tough part with them is you should be taking them in 5s, and then you putting buffs on them. It degrades the value of the buffs because it's 5s.
Right.
So that's the struggle with them that I find myself having.
Sure. I hate that they have 1-inch lances.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a lot of little things in this book that sort of like get there and just scrape at you like, yeah, I really like that, and that's cool, and that's cool. Wait, why is that one piece there? It's like this
Right.
one missing puzzle piece on so many things, right?
Yeah.
That's why I said this book is like 80% of exactly how I want books to be written. They're close.
Mhm.
They're close, right? But we've got one piece. Okay. Donnie Rongo says, I feel like rebasing the Feral Vamps from Cursed City to be my Vargeists. Hey, man, they're my Crypt Flayers in my FEC army. That's what I did. I made the little Feral Vamps. I had wings to them and made them my Crypt Flayers. Mortis Engine, 200 points, another potential caster buff, +1 to cast, and a decent ranged, short-ranged option to apply pressure beyond the melee lines. Has an interesting little shooting attack that, sort of doesn't roll to hit. It's just straight up 4-up and D3 mortals, and then obviously it can explode its reliquary and make a bunch of units on a 2-up suffer D3 mortal wounds. Basically every unit within 12 inches. Death units are not affected. So terrible in the mirror match if you're running the Mortis Engine reliquary bomb army.
Yeah, it really hasn't changed very much. It was okay, and when you used it with Archon, we're not relying on magic so much here. I just don't think it really does a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels pretty middling.
Agreed.
200 points. Yeah.
And it's not a hero, so
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Still,
I don't.
even though that guy on there certainly looks like one, but apparently
Right.
he's just some guy.
Yeah.
Hey, you. What? Me? Yeah, you're in charge of that thing today. Go get up there. Okay.
Yeah. This is not going to be making it into any list for the most part.
Sure.
No.
Then I have the page called Error 404, Unit Not Found. This is Black Knights, Fellbats, Terrorgeist and Zombie Dragons solo outside of Avangori, and Radikar's entire court.
Oh, sure.
Agreed. It's really sad what they did to Fellbats. It's like we'll strip your scroll and then we'll remove bat swarms and we won't give you their rule either. We're just gonna take it all away and give you a nice, sweet looking new kit. Like, God. It's
So
such a
yes,
bummer.
my answer is you can just skip all of these.
Yep.
Bloodseeker Palanquin. That was my.
Yeah,
skip
wasn't even
as
on
well.
the list.
Yeah.
I literally, that's funny you say
I think
that.
that was the worst one in the book, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I remembered that I forgot it earlier today,
Yeah.
and it's so bad I didn't even want to add it to this list.
That's fair. Yeah.
So that was
hard
my
pass.
feeling on that one.
Yeah. I really want to like Fellbats, but I don't know. I'm struggling to see a role for them. They're a little cheaper. What are they? 85, 75 for 3. So I guess that would be maybe the case if you really push for points. You can't fit the direwolves to fulfill that role.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, I ordered a box and I hope that I can throw them in a
Yeah.
list,
I have a bunch
you know?
of the old metal ones from the 90s. Okay.
Oh, God.
They're like big, heavy, flat ones on the flying stands. So, I've got those in the tank if I happen to need them.
Right.
There you go.
I mean, and in general, I would immediately think of like Ether Wings, so the classic example. Ether
Sure.
Wings, 40 points. They give you a unit that you just throw out there to score an objective without having to
and
put
then
any
charge
your
block
pieces.
people. Yes.
Exactly. Charge block. You don't have to put any of your pieces in a threat range. You keep all your other stuff. So like I would see them playing that sort of role. Yeah, they go, Battle for the Pass, go take the 2 points respectively.
Oh, if they
in
had
the
given them like a rule that was around charge blocking or a similar-ish type of thing,
Right.
moving out of phase in some way, that
Right.
could have been great. That
Yeah.
could have been a useful scroll.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're already getting a lot of mileage out of grave sites as little teleport beacons. And then, yeah, direwolves are so good. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really seeing a good role for them.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's look at the summary and landscape. Oh boy, I told you this was going to be a long one, folks. I warned you in advance. Thank you, John, for sticking into this. Apologize to your wife for me.
Oh boy.
Here we go. Here we go. Oops, sorry. Okay. So my answer on the summary is, honestly, it's close to how all armies should be designed. Close. We're not there yet, but it's close.
Mm-hmm.
The good, you can see it on the screen. I think it's firmly fat middle. I think there are good options. I think it contains both modular pieces as well as synergies. And I think it has multiple viable lists that'll be fun. Like there is different ways to build. The meh, some war scrolls are just plain and feel like they have no role. Holy Within 12 is way too popular of a phrase. The magic is average. And there's lower healing than previous, but that's probably better for the game overall, but it's still a thing. It's meh. The bad, really limited power projection and lots of named characters that can be tricky to synergize based on subfaction. That's my read on the book. What do you gentlemen think? John, what's your did I miss anything there?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's a bad book. In fact, I think that it wouldn't surprise me if 6 months from now it performs very well in tournaments. Yeah. I could see that. But most of all, I kind of agree with what you're saying here. I think it's not bad. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. CW's taking a hard line here. He says it's not fat middle. I mean, the answer is neither of us know for sure, buddy. So we'll see when the numbers come in. Right. If I'm wrong, hey, I'll eat that. That's fine. You know,
once you see the true power of those zombies, people will be changing their tune.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is we'll see how the numbers break out in a couple months, like when the army's out there and running.
Right.
But that's my read on it, and I believe that's where it sits.
Yeah.
What do you got, Tyler?
Yeah. I see no way that this book is not fat middle, and like I said, I think there's a good chance the community might be underrating it a little bit, and that is in the hands of Tony Moore's, Brendan Melnick's, and so on, or folks even not quite at their level of experience with the army. It will perform quite well at tournaments. I think it has, for the most part, all the tools that it needs. It's, I think, going to be more resilient to shooting, range power, range damage than some of the other melee armies. So I'm thinking about maybe Iron Jaws have fewer bodies. This combination of melee punch, durability, large number of bodies, board control, good objective play, amazing mobility in some cases. Again, grave sites, incredible mobility, built-in protection in terms of you want your opponent to give you first so that you can, do your business, putting alpha bunkering around objectives. I don't know. When I look at it, I think it's a really strong book in the hands of very capable players. Mm-hmm. And we might be kind of collectively underrating it is kind of my general feeling on it.
Okay. Lots of this has sparked a lot of different opinions, and CW. We'll catch up at next Nova. By the way, I'm sorry I'm not going to see you again at this Nova. We did have a good conversation back at Nova 2019, and I'm going to miss Nova 2021, but Nova 2022, CW, I'll see you in person, and we'll talk it through, and we'll see if you're right. I commit now. I will buy you a beer upstairs. There. That's my honest promise to you. If you're right and this thing ends up and it tanks and just cannot perform, if the stats have it down there, below the, outside of the fat middle, I don't know what percentage, whatever that is. Hey, you got a free beer coming to you from me, or drink of your choice. There you go.
You don't know what percent. You were the one who defined the percentage. What are you talking about?
That's fine. I'm saying I think it's 40 to 60, but that might be construing it too broadly for his taste.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. Okay, right.
Like
on.
if
Yeah,
he
yeah.
came to me and was like, "It's at, you said 53 and it's at 44. That's outside the fat middle." I'd still buy him the drink. Is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I'm trying
Fair
to be
enough.
generous.
Fair enough.
That was me not drawing a hard line, so because I'll buy the man a drink. Okay,
Yeah, fair enough.
that's all. All right. Okay. And finally, our breakdown. So there was the old version with legions down here in the corner on the design and power, and my feeling is now Soulblight is right there. It's in the middle, kind of right around the Skaven Nurgle-ish area. Nurgle might need to be moving up, honestly. I had this was the original power. I didn't move Nurgle since they got all their new toys. So honestly, Nurgle's probably going up a little bit here.
Right.
But at any rate, this is the area I think it falls in. This city slaves, Skaven kind of this range.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling like it's got a puncher's chance in most matchups, and it's going to reward you for strategizing and playing like a sneaky vampire.
There you go.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's I would say I suspect it's going to be I don't know. Yeah, Big Wah has done really well. That IJ Big Wah book, even Vote Splitters. Yeah, I don't know. I'm wanting to say it might perform. It has a little more mileage, a little more gas in the tank than Big Wah, Iron Jaws, Bone Splitters in the hands of good players. A little more, maybe not much more. But yeah, so I'd make it a little more competitive than that book. And then, yeah, maybe a little under. But yeah, man, pretty close where you have it, Vince. It's definitely, it's in that sweet spot.
I think it is too. And, I hope that we see it. It'll be really interesting to see what's in this book. It'll be really fun to come back to this book in 2 months and see what this book portended for 3.0, right?
Yeah,
definitely. What we were reading that was telling us something that we didn't get.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, to me, the obvious one is they're clearly going to separate retreat from normal move.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not just so it doesn't fall into that, but it's some different way you move. When I read Blood Knights, I was like, oh, okay, so those are going to be two separate things next edition. And you just clearly wrote this for 3.0 and was like, man, screw it.
Yeah, 100%.
So there you go. All right, folks. Well, John, thank you so much for doing this mega review with us. You are a scholar, a gentleman, a hero, my personal hero. I want you to know that.
Oh, yeah. You are the necromancer's best friend. I get it.
It's nice to meet you, John.
You as well, Tyler. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Those that made it this whole number of hours that I lost count of at this point.
It is. We are about to hit the 4-hour mark, just so you know.
We need a filibuster for what? What we got? Another 30 seconds?
It's longer than that. But at any rate, we'll see how it works out. John, thank you so much. Obviously, John's channel will be linked below. Hopefully, you all know Ninjon and his great tutorials. If you don't, go give John a sub. His channel's down there. Tyler, thank you very much for stepping in as interim co-host. All of you out there, don't forget to hit that like button. Hit the like button if you like Gravelords and you like the new book. Hit the like button if you're not sure about the new book or maybe you don't like it. YouTube knows the difference. It'll count your votes accordingly. Don't worry. Just make sure you hit like, otherwise YouTube won't know how to vote, so it can send that information back to GW. But in all seriousness, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you, everybody. As always, we'll see you next Wednesday.